Be on the radio in about 60 seconds. This is the most pro Donald Trump radio show anywhere. If you're new here, subscribe, click the notification bell. If you love Trump, you'll love me, you'll love the show. If you don't love Trump, you'll love the show. Okay, you'll love the show. So subscribe too if you don't love Trump. I promise you. All right, here we go.
3782. That's 1-855 toll free FLA 3782. Tell them Steve sent you.
You are listening to South
Thanks,
Florida's
Jack.
longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. To call the show toll free, dial 1-888.
Yes. Welcome, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. This is also the most pro-Donald Trump radio show anywhere in the world. I promise all of you that. I'm serious about that. That is true. You'll never hear me disagree or take issue with anything Trump says or does, ever. Not that he's done anything that I would want to criticize or disagree with. He's just the greatest, and we're very blessed, very blessed to have him as our president. And I'll never criticize Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't have to be like Michael Savage and go hard on Trump for a whole show just so people think I have credibility. No. I don't care about that. I love Trump. All right, well, welcome. There is so much going on, so much to talk about. We're going to talk about Tucker Carlson, number one in cable news. And as soon as that story came out, number one, and not just in cable news today, Tucker Carlson, he has the highest rated cable news program in the history of the cable news program. And this is very important. This goes back to the days of Larry King Live, when CNN had no competition and everyone tuned over to Larry King. That is amazing. I don't know how this is even possible when there's so many options out there today. It's a miracle. And I love Tucker Carlson. I've always liked him. Go watch him on Dancing with the Stars. You'll get a good laugh. You'll get a good laugh at that. But I love Tucker Carlson. He's great. I love him. He's far better than Sean Hannity. And I think Tucker is awesome. Now, Tucker Carlson, he's under a lot of heat right now because as soon as it was reported that he had the number one show in cable news history, that means, boom, they're going to be all after him. Brian Stelter at CNN went after him on something yesterday on the Twitter, which I'm going to talk about coming up. And then this Senator Duckworth from Illinois, who is a double amputee, she's been very critical of President Trump. She has supported the tearing down of Washington and other monuments. And we'll play some audio of that. And she's refused to go on Tucker Carlson's show. And Tucker Carlson has called her a coward for not appearing on his show as a guest to answer for all of these things. Now, she's a double amputee. She lost her legs when her helicopter was hit by enemy fire during, I guess it was at Operation Iraqi Freedom. I think it was Operation Iraqi Freedom, the Iraq War II. So we'll play the audio and things on the program this morning, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. When someone is a double amputee and they've lost their legs in combat, are they above criticism? I'll play some of the audio of her. I've seen her on TV quite a bit lately. All right, I've heard of her before. But I wasn't too familiar with her. But I've seen her on, and there was a clip circulating this week, which I'm going to play, when she was talking about the monuments. I think it was to Dana Bash on CNN. And I did not know that she had lost both of her legs. I did not know she was a double amputee. I didn't know that. And I would say that, there's a fine line here. When you're number one in the history of the medium, like Tucker Carlson is, you have to be cautious because they are coming to get Tucker Carlson. They want to bring Tucker down. I promise you right now, there were major investigations going on by the left into every aspect of his life and his parents' life and his wife's life and everything else. They're doing to Tucker Carlson right now what they did to Sarah Palin when they sent people to Alaska. And he's been a public person for a long time, and I imagine his life has been pretty boring. Remember, he used to wear the bow ties and everything. He kind of looks like one of the stereotypical collegiate type guys back in the days. Although he was born into wealth and everything, nothing wrong with that. But for some reason, I think his father worked in the public radio. I'm not too sure. I have to look that up again. But so he called. It's not that a double amputee is beyond criticism. Let me fine tune this. He called a double amputee, Senator Duckworth, a coward. A coward. So has Tucker Carlson gone over the line? We're going to talk about that. I want to hear your calls on that at 1-888-GO-CANE. 1-888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call from anywhere. And also, I want to this is just a mental note to myself. There's one thing I wanted to talk about yesterday that I didn't. I'm just going to throw this out because I will forget. I got so much going on. There's so much going on and not enough time. I was watching an interview on YouTube on the Joe Rogan podcast with somebody, and what they said really made me angry that I supported George W. Bush twice. So we'll talk about that. And also, Mary Kay Letourneau has died. And you remember her. She was the school teacher who was impregnated by her 12-year-old student way back in the early 90s. And I want to go through a little bit later on, not right now, about Mary Kay Letourneau, because that was just a crazy story. And I miss the days when we had scandals to talk about. Everything's been weaponized now with the politics, but I really miss those kind of scandals, the Mary Kay Letourneau, Villy scandal. So we got to talk about Mary Kay Letourneau. I think deserves a little discussion. Don't you guys think, does she not deserve a little discussion? I mean, she dominated. They made a TV movie with Penelope Ann Miller playing Mary Kay Letourneau back in the day, and oh my gosh, it was really a creepy and strange thing, Mary Kay Letourneau. But Mary Kay Letourneau has died of cancer. And so I'll talk about that a little bit later, because I think it does. She deserves it. She deserves it, everybody. But mostly, I want to hear your thoughts on Tucker Carlson calling a double amputee, which fits into the war hero category, a coward. Now let me play what Tucker said. This was on his air. Let me see here. Okay, here it is.
This reasoned exchange between adults. We wanted to have an exchange like that with Tammy Duckworth tonight. So we called her office and we invited her on the show. Her flag informed us that before even considering our request, we must first issue a public apology for criticizing Tammy Duckworth. In other words, I will not debate you until first you admit you're completely wrong. Keep in mind, Tammy Duckworth is not a child, at least not technically. She's a sitting United States senator who is often described as a hero. Yet Duckworth is too afraid to defend her own statements on a cable TV show. What a coward. Tammy Duckworth is...
Okay, so he called her a coward. Is that they're going to try to use this to discredit him? There has been a major move to bring Tucker Carlson down. It's in the very early stages of what we're seeing, but we're going to start hearing more and more things about him, and they're going to try to hurt him. You may have heard in the last week, I think a caller referenced it on yesterday's show, they're going after sponsors. They were talking about that, and there's an update on that, which we'll talk about coming up. Is it a poor word choice? The thing about equality, when you're in a certain situation, everyone should be treated equal. Now, there are people that I have had discussions with on the radio that were left-wing that I gave a break to. One in particular, there was a woman who called me, old lady, this was a long time ago, many years ago, and she was very old at the time, so she's probably no longer with us on this earth. But there was an abortion issue in the news we were talking about, and she called in. She was very pro-choice. very pro-choice, and she had told a story about when she was of childbearing years, people getting illegal abortions. Okay, and I was going pretty hard at her because what had happened with her is I had told her, I said, oh, and we got in there was a lot of detail about this discussion, and she had even told me that she took at least one person, it might have been multiple, it's been many years, so I don't remember every detail of the conversation. Man, my back is itching, and I still have not brought my back scratcher into the studio. She said that she had taken at least one woman, and it might have been multiple women, back in the days when abortions were illegal, to have abortions. And I pointed out to her that, well, wait a minute, that was under the law murder back in those days, and there's no statute of limitations on murder, so you are actually an accessory to murder under the eyes of the law, possibly. And we went back and forth about this a lot. And then all of a sudden, she told me she was a Holocaust survivor. And I asked her a couple of very specific questions to make sure she wasn't just doing it. She used it as an SOS, all right? She was getting destroyed. She was looking like a fool. She had told me a story that she had been telling her whole life with pride, and people would tell her how brave she was in her circle of liberal friends. And I pointed something out, that she was an accessory to murder, no statute of limitations. So she drops that she was a Holocaust survivor as an SOS, like, back off, please. And I immediately, of course, I recognized it as that. I mean, it was like a surrender. So I asked her a couple of very specific questions, and she was indeed a Holocaust survivor. And what I said to her was this. I said, listen, everything I said about you and what you've done and took part in is true. However, you survived a concentration camp. You are someone that I'm going to put up on a level that I'm not going to be critical of. And I ended the call after that, and I thought that was the appropriate thing to do because she was a Holocaust survivor. Now, that's just a personal choice of mine. Now, this thing with Duckworth and Tucker Carlson's a little different. This woman is out there attacking this president and commenting on all the controversial issues, okay? And, it's very possible that Tucker did not know that she is a double amputee. He may have. I didn't know. I don't know too much about her. I know now. But let's say that he did. Is Tucker Carlson, has he gone over the line? Was it a poor word choice? Or do you guys not care? And should a double amputee who lost their legs when their helicopter they were piloting was hit by enemy fire in the war in Iraq, is she fair game? Can you say anything you want about them just like any other Democrat, and it's okay in your mind? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I'll play some clips of her coming up. Our number, toll-free, 1-888-GO-CANE-1. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. I want to take a moment to tell everyone about Friendly Tire in Margate. Oh, man, I love Friendly Tire. I've been a customer there for over a decade. I first found Friendly Tire, I used to have a Jeep Wrangler, which I really miss. But having a Jeep Wrangler is really a nuisance. Putting the top up and down on a Jeep is a nuisance. If you ever go to buy one, take the top down and have the salesman put the top back up. See if they can do it, okay? But anyway, it was a four-wheel drive, had big old tires, and I was all excited, and then I needed new tires. And I priced the tires, and oh my goodness, I couldn't believe how much tires were. And that's when I first found Friendly Tire in Margate. It was about 11 or 12 years ago. Every car in my family is driving on the road on Friendly Tire tires, and brand new tires too. They have the best prices anywhere. Their prices cannot be beat. Steve took his son Tyler over there in his Toyota a couple of weeks ago. Lowest price around town for the tires for Tyler Kane's car, $165. Friendly Tires price, $75 a tire. Brand new tires, out the door and on the road, a $90 savings per tire. And remember, Friendly Tire doesn't charge you to mount the tire, balance the tire. There's no added fees. Those prices we give are out the door and on the road. $75 a tire, brand new tires. In fact, I saw his tires the other day on his car, and they look spectacular. They have thousands of used tires in stock, starting at just $30 for most sizes. And when it comes to tires, new tires as well, they got all the name brands that you love and that you want. No matter what your vehicle is, they'll get you the tires, and they'll beat the prices of anyone, I promise you, at Friendly Tire. If you have a high-performance vehicle, if you have a sports car, a luxury car, if you have one of our listeners got tires for a farm tractor a couple weeks back over there. I'm serious. And I've seen guys over there on numerous occasions now, probably because we've been talking about it, that have lawn crews, and they have those professional riding mowers that you see the lawn crews have, getting new tires on those riding mowers. It's absolutely amazing. If you need run flats, I had a Mini Cooper years ago, and it came with run flats, and I was so excited until I had to buy new tires, and I felt like I couldn't believe. I didn't know about Friendly Tire then. I wish I did. If you have run flats on your vehicle, call Friendly Tire. They will give you a price so low it'll blow your mind. If you have rare or hard to find tire sizes or tires, call Friendly Tire. Okay? Listen, their number, 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net. Of course, listed at stevekainshow.com. And Friendly Tire's address is 5415 Northwest 15th Street in Margate, 15th Street just north of Coconut Creek Parkway on the east side of 441. Again, the number 954-977-9445. Tell Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire you heard about him on the radio. Oh, man. All right, so Tucker Carlson, he's under fire. He has called a double amputee and war hero a coward, and there's a meltdown going on. A meltdown, let me tell you. Let me play a couple of clips of Senator Duckworth, okay? This first one, this is a while back. She's talking about our president, Donald Trump, when there was a debate going on about the military budget.
I spent my entire adult life looking out for the well-being, the training, the equipping of the troops for whom I was responsible. Sadly, this is something the current occupant of the Oval Office does not seem to care to do. And I will not be lectured about what our military needs by a 5-deferment draft dodger. And I have a message for Cadet Bone Spurs.
That's Trump, by the way. Cadet Bone Spurs is President Trump.
If you cared about our military, you'd stop baiting Kim Jong-un into a war that could put 85,000 American troops and millions of innocent civilians in danger.
Okay, now that's Senator Duckworth, double amputee. Now, there used to be, back in the early 2000s, during the debate on the Iraq War, I've forgotten his name, somebody will remember. There was a guy who was a Democrat senator. I got to find something to scratch my back with. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah, okay. I got a pen. I can just reach it. I got to bring my back scratcher in. Okay. There was a senator in the 2000s, a Democrat, who also was a double amputee, and he was in a wheelchair, and he was opposed to the war. He was a Vietnam veteran. Does anyone remember this guy's name? I cannot remember his name. You know who I'm talking about? Now, he was different than Senator Duckworth, okay? Senator Duckworth, liberal, she says crazy, outrageous things supporting terrible things, the tearing down of these monuments and all. I got more clips we'll get to in a bit. Double amputee. Now, she lost her legs in a combat situation. She was a helicopter pilot in Iraq, and an enemy rocket hit her helicopter, and that's how she lost her legs. This guy back in the what was his name? Remember him? He was in a wheelchair. He was a double amputee, and he was very critical of George W. Bush and any of the war efforts. His name totally escapes me, and he used his credibility that he was an amputee and a combat veteran from the war in Vietnam. Well, he did not lose his limbs in, was it Max Cleland? Was that his name? Somebody just told me in the chat room. He did not lose his legs in combat like that. He lost his legs when he was intoxicated in Vietnam. He reached down to pick up what he thought was a beer can and it turned out to be an explosive device, like a grenade or something, and it exploded. That's a different situation than that. But she's pretty nasty, Duckworth. She's pretty nasty. And, you know, is she like the Holocaust survivor that I wouldn't criticize or debate? Or is it fair game? Now, this is what started everything this week. This is Duckworth. She's on CNN talking about the tearing down of monuments. Okay? And she's with Dana Bash. Dana Bash. Listen to this.
What really struck me about the speech that the president gave at Mount Rushmore was that he spent more time worried about honoring dead Confederates than he did talking about the lives of our the 130,000 Americans who lost their lives to COVID-19, or by warning Russia off of the bounty they're putting on Americans' heads. I mean, his priorities are all wrong here. He should be talking about what we're going to do to overcome this pandemic. What are we going to do to push Russia back? And instead, he had no time for that. He spent all his time talking about dead traitors.
So that may be true, but George Washington, I don't think anybody would call him a traitor. And there are moves by some to remove statues of him. Is that a good idea?
I think we should listen to everybody.
Okay, now let me stop on that. So, she is beyond criticism, we're being told by the media, by the left, because she's a combat veteran and a war hero, right? George Washington, he's a combat veteran. He was in the French and Indian War, right? And, of course, General Washington in the American Revolution. And he and his people dealt with some tough stuff. So, if she is beyond criticism, how can they criticize General Washington, who was in 2 wars? Right? He was a colonel in the French and Indian War, 7 Years' War, and he was a general, of course, in the American Revolution. So, why is George Washington up for criticism, a combat veteran, an American war hero, but she's not? Okay, now she goes on a little bit, though. This is Duckworth.
Statues of him. Is that a good idea?
I think we should listen to everybody. I think we should listen to the argument there. But remember that the president at Mount Rushmore was standing on ground that was stolen from Native Americans who had actually been given that land during a treaty. And again, let's talk about the...
Yeah, okay, now she's the senator from Illinois. How much of Illinois is former Indian territory? What percentage of Illinois... Now think about this. What percentage... I've got the answer, I know. What percent... She's, he's over there, and that was Indian territory, Mount Rushmore. Right? This rock out in the middle of nowhere. What percentage of Illinois, where she's the United States Senator from, representing, is former Indian territory? What percentage? I'm not going to troll for calls all day on this. I'll just tell you. 100% of Illinois is former Indian territory. So is she suggesting that Illinois give up its sovereignty as a state and hand it over to whatever tribes at one time had laid claim? And what tribes would that be? Because tribes are always warring with one another. How would you determine which Indian nation is entitled to Illinois? But she goes on. She's not done yet. This is Senator Duckworth.
Everybody. I think we should listen to the argument there. But remember that the president at Mount Rushmore was standing on ground that was stolen from Native Americans who had actually been given that land during a treaty. And again, let's talk about the greater context of where we are in our country right now. We should be talking about the fact that COVID-19 is experiencing a resurgence, and both this president and the man he put in charge of the pandemic response team, the vice president, have both failed miserably at their jobs. I'm more worried about the 130,000 who have lost their lives recently and the thousands and thousands more Americans who are currently sick than I am about our historical past. We need to talk about what we're doing now to bring this country off of the brink of chaos that it's in.
So I'm going to...
Okay, so that's Senator Duckworth. So she's attacking a war veteran, General Washington. She's attacking Donald Trump in some very nasty ways, accusing him of terrible things. I would say she is not beyond criticism. And so far as this coward thing, you know, calling her a coward may have been an unfortunate word choice by Tucker Carlson. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was. So what? Who cares? It's just if she can be in Iraq facing down the Republican Guard and fly a helicopter under enemy fire into a combat zone in a very heated incident and get hit and shot down and survive that and go, I don't think being called a coward by some trust fund rich guy who used to wear bow ties and he's on Fox News would worry her at all. You know, now this COVID business that they're continuing to try to promote and project and make people very fearful for. We're going to talk a little bit about that on the show today too, because all kinds of craziness is going on. And I did see the exchange in Miami yesterday with the press conference with our great governor, Ron DeSantis, and the mayor of Miami. Oh boy, what a fool the mayor of Miami is. He should have felt like a jerk yesterday, but I don't know. You never know. You can't tell with the mask on. Maybe the mask allowed him not to feel like embarrassed. I do not know. I know the mask, you know, I was at Starbucks the other day, and two of the baristas were talking, and I couldn't resist. I injected into the conversation with something, and my daughter was very embarrassed, but I said, we got masks on, and I was wondering if the mask gave me a little bit of courage. I was at a Starbucks the other day, and if anybody's over there listening, oh my goodness, I'll be in trouble for my coffee next time. Well, I was wearing a mask. They will know who I was. I go into Starbucks, and these two baristas were talking. And, well, it was a woman who was a barista, and she was talking to a guy who works there. Are men who work at Starbucks baristas or baristos? I'll call him a barista for this. So anyway, she says to this guy, are the strip clubs closed? I thought that was so strange. In front of customers? Are the strip clubs closed? She's a woman. She says this to this guy. And he says, I don't know. And she says, well, I heard the strip clubs are closed. And she asked the question like 3 times, and I'm waiting for my my coffee, and she comes up to me with my coffee, and I said, what's wrong? I said, is Starbucks not paying enough? Right? And of course, all the people that work there started laughing at her, and she says, no. And she was apparently, she said she wanted to go there, a strip club for her birthday. So I'm assuming she's gay, you know. And she did have a tattoo on her forearm. You know, I don't know. It was a very strange conversation. And I was wondering, I was telling my daughter was so embarrassed. She said it was funny. She's like, you just couldn't resist, could you, Dad? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, maybe having my face covered gave me a little bit of courage to inject myself in a conversation and make a joke at her expense that maybe I wouldn't have made if I didn't have the mask on. I don't know. Anyway, listen, let's take our break. It is coming up on 33 minutes after 6 o'clock in the morning. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. We'll take a break and be right back. Don't go anywhere. You've heard Steve Kane talk about the great work and the incredible prices at Dr. Gupta's Brighton Dental. Richie the bus driver called Steve Kane on the air and told him about his experience at Brighton Dental.
Good morning. I have to talk about Brighton Dental because your sponsor is a miracle worker. I broke my tooth. I fractured it and it went backwards in my mouth.
Oh my God.
Front top tooth. I put it back into the socket. It felt like it was falling out. I had pain. I couldn't even eat spaghetti. And I was going to a wedding in New York 2 days later, and I said, what am I going to do, you know? And the dentist here wanted to charge me $120 just to look at it and to tell me he couldn't do anything. I went to Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. I traveled 139 miles. I would do it again in a heartbeat, each way. Okay, the man sat and worked on my tooth for 2 hours, put a pin in it, put it back in place. I could eat anything I want. He said it was temporary. He did such a great job. It feels like permanent. I have no pain. I can eat anything I want now. And the fact of the matter, this is what really was unbelievable. I was getting on the bus to go to the reception, okay, in New York City. He knew I was in New York. The phone rings. Who do you think's on the line?
Dr. Gupta.
Right. He wants to see if everything is going okay and if I'm in any pain. The guy is unbelievably wonderful. I mean, thank you so much. I would have been able to eat. I would have been able to go. I would have looked like a pumpkin.
Everybody needs a great dentist, and of course, for you Steve Kane listeners, you have one, Dr. Gupta, and he's over there at Brighton Dental. He takes really good care of you. He's very conscientious. He's, dentistry is an art when you stop and you think about it. And Dr. Gupta certainly is an artist, and we're so pleased to have him with us.
Yeah, I just wanted them to know if you need a dentist, and the guy is so good at what he does, he's so gentle, and I mean, I don't like dentists. This guy is this top shelf, and I'm going down to him to get it permanently put in, but right now, I don't have any pain. I can eat anything I want. Incredible.
Take Richie the bus driver's advice and go see Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. Call 954-922-4633. 954-922-4633.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by Attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. When is the last time you reviewed your revocable living trust? If it's been more than 3 years, it needs to be reviewed. Call Attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. He will review your trust at no charge. With 9 offices in South Florida, including Boca, downtown Fort Lauderdale, and Aventura. 1-855-FLA-3782. 1-855-FLA-3782.
Listen to the Steve King Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for W.
All right, welcome back, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show. Oh, man, it's Wednesday morning. This time tomorrow, I will be at Walt Disney World. That's right. We'll be back live on Friday. We're not going to be here live on Thursday tomorrow because I'm going to Disney World. It's the opening day. It's a special event for annual pass holders. Very limited number of people being admitted to Walt Disney World tomorrow, and I will be there. And I'm all excited with my daughter. And I will probably be, the park opens at 9 a.m. I will probably be at this time tomorrow morning. I will probably be in the parking lot at Walt Disney World already lined up, waiting for the monorail to run and pick me up. So I'm very excited about that. So I'll be there tomorrow. Also on my podcast today, The Brian Craig Show. Do you guys all listen to my podcast? If you don't, you should. Listen to my podcast, The Brian Craig Show podcast, that I co-host with my wife, Kathy. On my podcast today, my guest is George Papadopoulos. And I interviewed George Papadopoulos yesterday. I'm going to upload it today. It was a really good interview. And it's one of those interviews that, well, the guy's been interviewed 5,000 times. So what do you do that's not? And I really hit on some good things that he was not asked about before, certainly not in the way I asked about. So on my podcast today, George Papadopoulos, who did 14 days in the federal lockup as part of the Russia hoax and the coup against our president. So tune in for that today on my podcast, George Papadopoulos. Oh, man. Okay, now, there was an incident at a Costco with a guy who was not wearing a mask. Have you guys ever been anywhere where someone has not had a mask on lately? Because masks are required in all public places, at least here. And, I don't, there's a lot of people out there, they get very confrontational about the masks. There was an incident at a Costco. I'll play you the audio in a bit. It got very heated. I'm going to talk a little bit about how do we react when we see people without masks in Fauci's America. All right, let's go to the phones. Good morning. You're on the radio.
Hey, good morning. It's Al from Coral Springs, your favorite caller.
Oh, hey. Well, you keep saying that, but I would not call you my favorite caller by any means.
Why aren't you talking about Trump's new book release today that calls him a sociopath? She's a psychologist with a clinical PhD. Totally destroyed.
You say she needs a psychologist? Is that what you said?
No, I said she's a clinical psychologist.
Oh, okay. Okay, now this is an interesting. I'm glad you brought. I was going to bring this up in the next hour, but since you brought it up now, we'll talk about it. We're talking about Trump's niece with her book. She's a clinical psychologist. That's a mental health care professional, correct?
They do a lot of this.
Yeah, okay, but that's mainly what they do. Now, she said that Trump is what? What did she say Trump was?
She said that he was a sociopath.
A sociopath. That's interesting. Okay. She said that he's a sociopath. That's a clinical diagnosis, right?
Well, you know.
No. So a sociopath, when if I call someone a sociopath, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist or anything. It means it's just an opinion. But she's a mental health care professional. So this is interesting. This is interesting. I'm not aware that she has ever examined Donald Trump. So is she making a medical, psychological diagnosis on someone that she has not examined properly and put through the proper testing that a psychologist would put someone through to determine whether or not they are a sociopath? That sounds like malpractice to me.
He paid someone to cheat for him.
She did what?
He paid someone to cheat for him on his SATs.
Oh, really? Someone has come forward and said that they took the SAT exam for Donald Trump?
She's a direct family member. You're going to say she's lying about everything?
Well, I would say that without any evidence, that sounds like rumor, slander, innuendo. I don't know. Listen, I have a lot of people in my family. They know I'm a very private person. People don't know much about me, even in my family oftentimes, unless they're really, really close, like my wife, daughter, mother, But once you get beyond my wife, mother, and daughter, people don't know too much about me, even in my own family, about the little nitty-gritty.
If there was a photo of Barack Obama and Jeffrey Epstein hanging out in a club, how do you think Tucker Carlson would have treated that?
Well, it depends. When would the photo have... so you've given up on the book. When would this club photo with Obama and Jeffrey Epstein have been taken? Before he was senator and president, or after?
It doesn't matter.
No, it does matter. It matters for my answer. No, excuse me. Hold on a second. It matters for my answer. Because I'm going to apply a different standard to Obama than Donald Trump, by the way. If there was a photograph with Barack Obama with Jeffrey Epstein prior to him being president, yes, it would be very relevant. But Donald Trump's is irrelevant. Now, you might think I just say that because I love Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, there's a reason, okay? Tell me the situation, okay, in which Donald Trump, before he was president, was in a photograph with Jeffrey Epstein. It's dead air. You don't know. You don't know. Okay, see, Donald Trump has been a celebrity his entire life, at least since I've known him. First time I heard of Donald Trump was back in the 80s on Robin Leach's Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. He was a celebrity, and he was also a celebrity host with the Mar-a-Lago Club up in Palm Beach. People take photographs with celebrities all the time. If there was a photograph of Barack Obama with Jeffrey Epstein when he was a United States senator or president, wouldn't matter to me. However, if there was a photograph of him before he was famous, I'd say, what's he doing with this creep? You understand what I mean? So if you took a picture with me, for example, am I liable for everything in your life? Are you liable for everything in my life if we took a picture together?
Confederate statue should be in the African...
It seems like every time I bring something up that you can't defend, you move on to another subject. You're trying to move on to a third subject. People take pictures with celebrities all the time, and Donald Trump was a big celebrity at a celebrity party, and Jeffrey Epstein wanted to take a picture with a celebrity, just like he's in pictures with the Clintons. Just like his madam was... Now back to the niece. You brought up the niece, so I'll bring this up. If she's making a medical diagnosis on a patient or on an individual she has not had as a patient and examined, she's guilty of malpractice. No mental health professional will give you a diagnosis of someone that they've not examined or had sessions with, multiple sessions. So she's a quack if she's doing that. Second, what's her name again, the niece's name? I forgot her name.
Confederate stack?
No, excuse me. This is relevant. What is the name? If you don't know, say I don't know, because I forgot her name. Do you know the name of Trump's niece that has this book? Hello? Oh my goodness. Now he's back to the I can't hear. Okay. This is I was going to talk about this later, but I'm going to bring it up now. If you're on hold, stand by. I really don't know the niece's name. I don't know her name. I mean, I can look it up on Google. And you know what? 99% of you don't know her name either. Okay? That's what this is all about. Right? She's from the part of the family that Trump's older brother is from. Right? He died. He had the substance abuse problem with alcohol. The substance was alcohol. That's why the president doesn't drink. And in her mind, I'm sure she's wealthy. She's still got Trump family money. But she doesn't have the Ivanka Trump level money. She doesn't have a jewelry line like Ivanka. She doesn't have a clothing line like Ivanka. And she doesn't have the White House to go hang out at. And she doesn't have the level of wealth that they have. She wasn't a judge on The Celebrity Apprentice, the #1 show on NBC television. So what you really have is a bitter family member who's jealous of the first family. Because in her mind, if the brother would not have died, that's where she would be, bitter and jealous. And I'll tell you this about mental health professionals, because she doesn't seem to be all together. This is not always the case, but it is often the case. Many people that are in the mental health profession are people that were drawn to it because they were patients in the mental health profession. And usually their entire life, or a large part of their life, and that's why they're drawn to it. But if she says he's a sociopath, there's two possibilities here. Either one, she's a total quack because you can't diagnose someone you haven't examined and had multiple sessions with. Or she did have sessions with him and she's breaking the doctor-client privilege there. So which is it? All right, let's take our last break of the first hour. My name's Brian. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. That's right, it is. Don't go anywhere.
Suffer from foot pain that just won't go away? Do you have balance issues and are you afraid of falling? Are you in need of orthotics? Are you a diabetic and in need of diabetic shoes and custom inserts? These are just a few reasons why you would call the Soul Authority today. Whether it's in the comfort of your own home or coming to the office at one of our 2 convenient locations in Pembroke Pines or Tamarack, the Soul Authority can take care of all of your podiatric needs. If you're a Medicare recipient, call us today at 954-597-7060. That's 954-597-7060. And you can also find us online at thesoulauthority.com. That's THESOLE authority.com. Call the Soul Authority today and start taking care of your feet.
We are chatting today with Frank, the owner of 2 magnificent Ace Hardware stores. One, Deerfield Beach, 365 South Federal Highway, about a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough on the west side of Federal Highway, and the other, Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, half a block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the sea. Well, one of the things I noticed when I first walked into Ace Hardware is that you carry such a wide variety of the big brands all under one roof. It's astounding.
That's Ace's new practice. It's called Best Brands, and under one roof we have major categories. Let me give you an example of 2. Yeti coolers, Craftsman handfuls, Milwaukee handfuls, Steel Power equipment, Benmore paint, Weber grills, Napoleon grills, Traeger grills, Big Green Egg. We are a platinum dealer. We have the largest selection of Green Egg products, all under one roof. all with people that are experienced and show you how to use these products.
There are lots of Ace Hardware stores, but there are only 2 that are advertising with the Steve Kane Show. We're talking about the Deerfield location, a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough Boulevard on the west side of Federal, and of course the Beach Ace Hardware located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, a half block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the Sea. Very, very special locations. Be sure to mention Steve Kane sent you.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search.
All right, 49 minutes after the hour, I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show. By the way, Ace Hardware, Deerfield, Beach Ace Hardware. Right now, there's 20% off select Craftsman lithium-ion power tools. Oh, my goodness. You know, I've been replacing my old ridiculous tools with tools from Ace Hardware, and they are tools priced very well. They have deals like this all the time. They last. They don't break after you use them once or twice. Very good deals. So, great deal on those Craftsman tools. Check them out. All right, you're on the radio. Good morning.
Hey, Brian, Jeff, Southwest Ranches.
Hey.
Just want to say, fantastic show. You answered that guy's question so eloquently. He ended up in a 3-alarm fire.
Yeah.
The PhD, I wonder what college that was, because I think it stands for Pile and Deep. You nailed every part of that. The photo, everything. Thank you. I just want to...
Well, you know, I'll tell you, I think, is she the daughter of the president's brother? Because I think she is. So he was the heir to the Trump family. And in her mind, she's kind of like if she was the daughter of the king that abdicated, you know what I mean? And then Elizabeth moved on. In her mind, she would be the queen, not Ivanka. And there is no question that there is internal family issues. She's very bitter. She's very jealous. She thinks that she should be Ivanka.
How many times do you think she's actually sat in a room with them?
I don't know. You know, this is the thing, okay? I have a pretty big family, and I get along with, I think, everyone in my family. I don't know if they get along with me, but I get along with everyone in my family. But I don't have contact with most people in my family because I'm busy, and I've got my own family now, you know? And honestly, they don't know too much about me. You know what I mean? I'm talking about personal things. You know, any more than you would as a listener to the program. And I would tell you that no matter what, if a family member writes a book, you know, she's trying to be mommy dearest here, you know, and she's just a niece. I mean, I have uncles, I have nephews, I have nieces. If I had a niece of mine write a book about me, what the hell would they know about me? All right, take care, man. Appreciate it. By the way, where is Southwest Ranches?
It's between the Everglades and Davie.
The Everglades and... Okay, I always hear people talking about Southwest Ranches, and I never really know where it is. So I thought that was Sunrise, like where the mall is. Oh, you're south of the mall. Oh, okay. You don't want to be called Sunrise or anything. You got to have a special name to feel in port. All right, take care, man. Take care. All right, thanks so much. Okay, Southwest Ranch. I always wonder where that was. Hear all these strange towns. I have lost track. Where are we? Okay, yes, it's 7:07. There's the clock. Oh, man, our number toll-free, 1-888-GO-CANE-1. And I don't want you to think I'm attacking my family. I'm not. But, you know... we talk a lot about this issue, actually, every day. Attorney Barry Siegel, right? Estate planning. Estate planning is important for many, many, many reasons, and you hear us talk about them a lot. But boy, do people change when there is money involved. When there's money involved, friendships are lost, families are at each other's throats when it comes to money, right? And that's a reality. People get so nasty and personal and snarky and everything. That is the biggest divider probably really in our society is money, especially in families. in particular with inheritances. And Donald Trump, I am sure that everyone in the Trump family, you know, Fred Trump's family too, get money from the Trump organization because it was a company that was started by the president's father. Of course, he made it much, much bigger. So he always talks about this. His father said, "Don't go to Manhattan. We're Queens people," and he did, and he turned the company into something big. But President Trump has made huge amounts of money beyond the Trump organization's real estate interest. He's grown it from the casino era, the resorts, the golf resorts. At the time he came down the escalator, when he did his first financial disclosure, he was making $250 million off of The Apprentice. So, you know, and you know, all the other ways. So President Trump and his immediate family, if everyone in the Trump family earns money from some type of trust from the Trump real estate business that was started by Fred Sr., okay, the president's immediate family make buku bucks on all these other things, right? Like I was saying, unlike, I think her name is Mary, by the way, the niece. She doesn't have a jewelry line or clothing line, or the golf resorts might be separate from the real estate. You know what I mean? How these things are set up. Certainly things like Trump Steaks and Trump University. The Trumps have made so much money beyond whatever the real estate trust might have that there's got to be jealousies and fame, especially when your father was the heir that got passed over, right? Fred Jr. So there's no one that could tell, you know, and so far as books, no matter who the president is, there's hundreds of books that always come out. And there have been several books about President Trump that were going to bring him down. Every one of them has fizzled. And what does it say about someone that writes a nasty book about a family member like that? It's one thing if they're no longer with us, but while they're here, to try to undermine them on the eve of an election? What kind of family member, would you do that to anyone in your family? You know, Christina Crawford, with Mommy Dearest, just coincidentally, I was watching some, a lot of you guys know this, a lot of you don't. Steve Kane used to work on the Dick Cavett show back in the 70s, and I was, he and I were talking about a show he worked on, and I looked it up on YouTube, and then I'm getting all these recommendations, and one of them was a Christina Crawford interview, and with a bunch of different people, and I watched a bunch of Christina Crawford interviews, the author of Mommy Dearest, she, you know, Joan Crawford's daughter that wrote this tell-all, and I watched a few of these interviews, and she seemed pretty credible to me. I've seen the movie. But I did not know, I was watching an interview, I think it was Merv Griffin, who was screwed over by Trump in a real estate deal. I wish Merv Griffin was alive to talk about that great deal Trump made at Merv Griffin's expense. But anyway, I was not aware of this, but Joan Crawford had two other children other than Christina and her brother that you see in the movie. And the other kids actually not only said it was not true, they wrote a letter. I can't remember if it was the Dick Cavett or Merv Griffin interview. They wrote a letter saying that Christina Crawford was a liar and that the story she said didn't happen. And, you know, none of us really know. But what I'm telling you is, when it comes to families, there are, you know, when Joan Crawford died, Christina didn't get any money, but the other girls did. And there was a lot of money from Joan Crawford's marriage to the Pepsi guy, right? So, you know, Christina Crawford did what she did, whether you believe it or not. You know, I tend to believe her for money, but her other siblings say it wasn't true. There's always division when it comes to family. People say terrible things. I think Betty Davis's daughter wrote a book about her when she was alive. You know, bitter, it's usually over money. People, you know, if Christina Crawford would have come into big money when Joan Crawford died, we probably never would have heard of her, and the movie Mommy Dearest never would have been made. Good morning. You're on the radio.
Good morning.
Yes.
Got a couple things to tell you. One, Jack Lieberman would like to stop by and see Steve in the studio tomorrow, if that's possible.
It's not possible. It's not. First off, it's not possible because we're not going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to be at Disney World tomorrow, and and I don't know what I would have to talk to Jack Lieberman myself. You are not a booker who books guests on the Steve Kane Show. If what you were saying is true, I'm sure Jack Lieberman knows how to get in touch with me. I don't know what we would talk. What would we talk to Jack Lieberman about on the show? I don't know. No, I don't know. I'd have to talk to him, and I'm really. It might be interesting to do, but I'm a little reluctant because I don't want you to think that you're all of a sudden a producer on the Steve Kane Show, Al. No, you're trying to do it. You're trying to push a guest on. I don't know. No. Steve is on. First off, Steve's on vacation this week, and we're not here tomorrow. I'll be back live on Friday, but I don't really know what we would talk to Jack Lieberman. Can get and by the way, Jack Lieberman getting in touch with me doesn't mean you send me an email or something. Jack Lieberman can figure out how to get in touch with me. I'm here 3 hours a day. Maybe Jack, if what you're saying is true, maybe he could call in and we'll see if he's worthy of a guest appearance, if he's relevant these days on the issues we're facing. I'm up on a break, so what'd you call me about?
Well, I told you about the half of the detention center.
Oh, call me on the air.
In Arizona, the employees have tested positive.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my goodness, disturbing. I'm disturbed that I kept you on the air 45 seconds past the top of the hour when I'm supposed to be on break. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. That's right. Our number toll free 1-888-GO-KANE-1. That's our number, 888-GO-KANE-1, 888-465-2631. Hour number 2 starts now.
This is Lori Kane, and I want to tell you about Brighton Dental Care. I just had a lot of work done, and I avoided going to the dentist for a lot of years because I was afraid of the cost. But I went to Brighton Dental for my free consultation, which, by the way, he offers to all Steve Kane listeners. I had 2 cavities, I needed a crown on top and a crown on the bottom. If I were a horse, they would have put me down. So I scheduled my appointment for the next Saturday because Brighton Dental has...
See, the problem with Liberal Al is this other guy, Al, that calls in, the other liberal guy that's black, he's like jealous of him because he's afraid I want to start calling him Liberal Al. He'll be the new Liberal Al. Which maybe I'll start calling him the new Liberal Al just to tick off the old Liberal Al. Right?
33. That's 954-922-4633.
If you take issue with me going to Disney, please call. I'll take the call.
And tell them Lori Kane sent you.
95.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
This is Steve Kane. And
Steve
I
Kane
want to
Show.
share with you some thoughts about why I chose the Gardens of Boca Raton to be my final resting place. I have always been uncomfortable with thoughts of death and dying, but the very first time that I visited the Gardens of Boca Raton, I could feel my apprehensions vanish. Just knowing that I'd be spending eternity with my family in such magnificent surroundings lifted my spirits. The Gardens of Boca Raton is an all-faith, above-ground cemetery with tranquil surroundings, a place where your loved ones can come and visit you time and time again, remembering and celebrating your life. The Gardens had caring professionals available to help you in your time of need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pre-need with 0% financing is available and prevents your family from having to deal with these matters at the time of their grief and sorrow. The Gardens of Boca Raton, dedicated to all those who have lived and all those who live today. Let the Gardens take care of your family as they are taking care of my family. Schedule
What was classic wasn't the call, was how I handled it.
Plan 561 or online at thegardens.com. Tell them Steve Kane sent you.
Yes, we're in the alternate universe where America has been made great again by President Trump, and we're going to keep it great again by re-electing him. You're in the alternate timeline where Hillary won in 2016. God help you. You're in Hillary's America. All right, we're coming back.
855-FLA-3782.
You are listening to South Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show.
I know,
To
Sarah.
call
I'm
the
just
show
kidding.
toll-free. Dial 1-888-GO-CANE-1. That's 1-888-GO-CANE-1.
Yes. Welcome back. Welcome back. You know, someone in the YouTube live chat told me to fix my hair. It's sticking up. I'm on the radio, man, okay? I don't need to fix my hair. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hour number 2 has begun. I'm Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. We're live each and every weekday morning with overnight rebroadcast, midnight till 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, The Steve Kane Show is on the radio from midnight until 9 a.m. That's right. We broadcast live on 96.9 FM, 95.3 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. You can also listen to us on the iHeart Radio app and the TuneIn app. Just search for us by our station call letters WWNN, 2 W's, 2 N's, and we pop right up. Yeah, welcome back. So if you're just tuning in, we were talking the #1 rated cable news host in the history of cable television. Tucker Carlson is called a Democrat senator, double amputee war hero, a coward. Talking about Senator Duckworth. And Senator Duckworth, she's trending, I just saw on Twitter. We were talking a little bit about that and a whole bunch of other stuff too. Let's talk to Richie before I bring up anything new. Good morning, Richie.
Good morning. How are you?
All right.
In a way, first of all, I want to tell you, you're lucky Steve's on vacation because I was going to try to show Steve what kind of hypocrite, I hate to say this to you, at what you are when you came to Todd's funeral and Disney World. And I called him, and remember, I called you up the air, told you 17,100 people.
How many?
At Disney World, you're going to be there with 17,100, which is 30% of capacity.
Okay, now hold on a second here. Now, Disney World's official opening is Saturday. I am going tomorrow for a special event that has even fewer people than the Magic Kingdom opening on Saturday. But even let's go with the 17,000. There's usually how many people? What's the capacity?
Plus another 70% of that, so it's actually 30% capacity.
Yeah. So it's over 100,000 is the capacity of the park. Yeah. So and yesterday they had this special opening for cast members, and I watched some of it yesterday. I mean, when you talk about a place that usually has over 100,000, and I did watch yesterday online, there were some people there live streaming on YouTube who went for the employee day, the cast member day yesterday. People are so distanced and far away from one another. It's like a ghost town. There's so few people there.
But what Steve said about Todd's funeral, I don't think there was 17,100 people that parked at
The funeral was different.
His car.
No, the funeral was different, okay? And let me tell people, very good friend of mine, very good friend of Steve's, Todd is his name, and he went with us on all the cruises, and he was a young guy in his early 50s, passed away a few months ago after a terrible car accident that was not his fault. And Steve and I did not attend the funeral, and it was a tough thing not to go to his funeral. And there were very specific reasons why we did not go to our good friend's funeral, which is awful. It's an awful thing to do. This was several months ago, before we knew everything we know now, okay, so far as COVID, and it was before social distancing as we've come to know it was in full effect. And it was an outside funeral, but it was months ago, right, and some very scary times in Fort Lauderdale area. And they were implementing some type of social distancing at the funeral, but I told Steve, I said, the people from his family have been in the hospital with him for weeks and weeks, and he was in. I just lost the call with Richie. The line just went dead. Maybe there's a problem with line 1 because I keep losing callers on line 1. Richie, is this you? Okay, I lost you there. Okay, so let me finish. The main reason I told Steve that going to the funeral, even with any type of social distancing months ago, was a big no-no for me, and I tried to get him not to go, which he did not go, was a couple of reasons. We didn't have testing available like we have now, that's one. But the main reason was he was in the hospital at Broward General for quite some time, and his family was there every day, of course. And the hospital, that's where people are going into that hospital with the coronavirus, and this was months ago in a scary time, and I told him there's too high of a risk that members of his family have been unknowingly exposed to coronavirus, and it's too big of a risk for us to go to the funeral. Now, a few months later, we're in a different world.
What I'm saying to you is you're going to a place now where Orange County is infested. You got people you don't know where any of these people that you're going to be with have been at all. You go with 17,000 people and plus the people that work there. But let me just say this here. I couldn't call you for that. You still with me?
I'm here.
Okay. There's something that I saw yesterday was amazing. I went on. I was on YouTube because I tried to get away from these politics, and I saw Michelle Malcolm. Did you ever go on her?
We've had Michelle Malcolm. We've had her on the show a bunch of times. She's great.
Okay, go on her website. Please, Miguel, you're gonna love this. This is for you. I mean, she completely destroyed Charlie Kirk, but she really at the
Charlie Kirk. What was she going after Charlie Kirk about? That's shocking.
And Ben Shapiro calling them out, and she cursed Ben Shapiro and said he was such a liar. And
wait a minute. Now, was she talking to Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk, or talking about them?
She pulled up talking about him. She pulled up Ben Shapiro and called him the biggest hypocrite in the world.
About what?
Well, he's one of the people that got her banned from some kind of a thing she was on, and she told him, "You gotta."
Wait, Charlie Kirk? No, if someone knows the details, I mean, Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro got Michelle Malkin taken off of some conservative platform or something?
Yeah. And
really?
She's very good friends with. She raved about Laura Loomer and said Laura Loomer was attacked by these people. You gotta see this.
Well, Ben Shapiro and Laura Loomer. See, Ben Shapiro, during the campaign in 2016, wrote an article titled "Why I Will Never Vote for Donald Trump." And Laura Loomer called him out on this because he was, after Trump became president, he was acting like he wanted a job with Trump and everything. So I know there's some blood between them. Yeah.
Well, called her an anti-Semite. You have to.
Michelle Malkin?
Gotta see it. Just YouTube. You will go crazy. It's a rich.
Well, I need someone that I want to know what I want to know. I'll watch it, but what I want to know is what did Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro specifically do that has Michelle Malkin hating them?
Well, she says he's another phony. You gotta see it. I mean, I'm serious. It's amazing. But she used curse words too. She went into a.
Really? Well, this is what I don't understand. Michelle Malkin used to be kind of like the it girl. She was on all the shows, a conservative voice, and then a few years ago, she disappeared. And now I found an article here, okay? This is in the Jerusalem Post. This is a headline. Michelle Malkin shunned by conservatives over support for anti-Semites. Malkin has been a vocal supporter of Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes, prompting the Young America's Foundation to distance itself for her. Now, I've never heard of Nick Fuentes. Let me see here. It says here, the conservative... Let me read the article, Richie, and maybe we'll get some information, because I love Michelle Malkin, and I'm sorry she's not around as much. The conservative Young America's Foundation has dropped right-wing columnist Michelle Malkin from its speakers program over her support for anti-Semite and Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes. Malkin's firing represents... Okay, let's see here. Since October, Fans of Fuentes have been attending conservative college events from Turning Points USA and the Young America Foundation to heckle speakers and disrupt their speeches. The activists, who refer to themselves as groypers, as a nod to Pepe, the frog-like toad meme adopted by the most extreme internet white supremacists, typically ask questions about United States support of Israel in a bid to mainstream their anti-Semitic beliefs within the conservative movement. Fuentes took part in the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. Malkin has praised Fuentes, who she named in a recent speech as one of the new right leaders, before calling on establishment conservatives to engage with them. She laid the full extent of her support out in a speech at the Young America's Foundation, which she addressed the young men and women of this country who identify as America First conservatives. And she continued and said this: another Young America Foundation speaker, Ben Shapiro, repeatedly denigrated an entire movement of young men who watch a YouTuber named Nick Fuentes. And this is what Malkin said. So she attacked him. I don't know. It seems, Ben Shapiro is in this new wave of young conservatives coming up, is very powerful. I mean, I'm surprised that he gets along so well with Kirk. I've never heard of this Fuentes guy. I know nothing about him. But I do know. I'm gonna reach out to Michelle Malkin. Michelle Malkin, I promise you, was no anti-Semite. She's Filipino-American. She wrote an incredible book, which is almost impossible to find, and my copy got water damage, and I had to throw it out. I'm very upset. It was a hardcover book, and it was called The Case for Internment, and she wrote an entire book justifying the internment of the Japanese Americans, the Americans of Japanese descent during the Second World War.
One of her movement people was with that statue in New York. He had a bunch of people come and try to prevent them from taking down a statue. She said not one Republican leader showed up. They're all...
Well, I don't know. I do know that I have a lot. I don't care for Ben Shapiro too much. I think he's a pompous windbag and a snob. But I do like Charlie Kirk a lot. All right, Richie, I'm trying to have a conversation, but the conversation can't always be, you got to see the YouTube. I'm on the radio. I can't go and watch an hour-long video with Michelle Malkin while I'm on the air. I don't care for Ben Shapiro. I think he's a very arrogant guy. Arrogant in a bad way, okay? But I do like Charlie Kirk, and I've said that often. I listen to Charlie Kirk's podcast, and I've said several times on the air that Charlie Kirk would be someone that they should really look at to be the permanent fill-in host for Rush during this time. And when Rush retires, Charlie Kirk, I think, could do a damn good job taking over the Rush Limbaugh program. I think he's very, very good. Ben Shapiro, another story. So if Charlie Kirk... I love Michelle Malkin. There's no way she's an anti-Semite. I don't believe that she's an anti-Semite. That would be impossible for me to believe. But, I'll look into this thing. But if Charlie Kirk is taking issue with her, there's got to be some good reason. So I'll look into it and try to find out. Okay, because these are two people I like and respect, Charlie Kirk and Michelle Malkin. If it was just Ben Shapiro, I wouldn't even bother looking into it. But I want to know what it is. If you can pick up that book that Michelle Malkin wrote, though, The Case for Internment, oh man. I learned so much about the internment of Americans of Japanese descent during the Second World War from her book. It was amazing. George Takei hates Michelle Malkin because of that book. He hates Michelle Malkin. All right, listen, let's take our first break of the second hour. 18 minutes after. I'm Brian Craig. This is The Steve Kane Show. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
This is Brian Craig. I've been telling you about the great deals and incredible customer service at Friendly Tire. On tires and used tires. One of our listeners, Antonio, went to Friendly Tire and called to share with us his experience of buying used tires at Friendly Tire in Margate.
Good morning, you're on the radio.
Hey, yes, Brian, I want to give you a quick testimony about the tire place up in Margate, Friendly Tire. Friendly Tire, everything you said it would be, man. I went up there, got me some used tires, and when I went there, man, he was very courteous. My whole family's going for that, man. Everything you said it was going to be, man. I appreciate you for that, man, and Mike's great guy, man.
Well, what's your name?
Antonio.
All right, Antonio. Hey, I'm glad we could save you and your family lots of money on tires at Friendly Tire.
Oh, no doubt, man. Thanks so much, man.
Do what Antonio did. Stop into Friendly Tire and find incredible deals on both new and used tires. Give Friendly Mike a call right now. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. And Mike will give you a quote right over the phone. 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate.
Attention homeowners, this is Scott from Cut My Kilowatts. I'm here to cut your electric bill and save you a lot of money. Perhaps even eliminate your electric bill altogether. We do this by making your entire home energy efficient, by upgrading some or all of the following: roofs, doors, windows, insulating your attic, AC systems and ducts, hot water heaters, and even adding solar. Energy efficient improvements that actually pay for themselves over a short period of time. Our program is designed to make the savings on your electric bill pay for all or part of your low monthly payments. The PACE program is government sponsored and gives you up to 30 years to pay. Requires no credit check, no money down, no income verification, and no payments for up to 18 months. You only need to be current on your mortgage and taxes for the last 3 years to qualify. Energy savings and hurricane solutions made easy. Call 954-939-1500. 954-939-1500 to start saving money now.
Listen to this.
All right, welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show, on the radio since 1977. Now, I was talking about Tucker Carlson at the beginning of the show at 6. He is under fire over calling a double amputee, war hero, Democrat, United States Senator a coward for not coming on his program. And they're really going after Tucker Carlson. They're going after him so much because he's the #1 rated show in the history of cable news, and he's conservative, and he loves Trump, and they hate that. They hate that. And yesterday, Brian Stelter over on Twitter tweeted something about him. It says here, this is Brian Stelter: "My Pillow props up Tucker Carlson. Mike Lindell's firm is advertising on Tucker's show nearly 10 times more than the next largest brand by spend." And Tucker Carlson tonight, estimated TV ad spending is 37.8% as compared to everybody. So he's the largest single advertiser on the My Pillow, Mike Lindell, on Tucker Carlson. So says Brian Stelter. And what Brian Stelter is doing is furthering this idea that what he's trying to say here is that Mike Lindell, who works on the Trump campaign, very vocal Trump guy. By the way, I'm going to go through the My Pillow specials. Use the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout in a minute. But Brian Stelter is trying to make people believe that Tucker Carlson's show is only financially viable because this is a love buy by Mike Lindell and My Pillow that are advertising on Tucker Carlson's show to keep it commercially viable when so many advertisers have left. I keep hearing all these, anytime they do these fake boycotts on shows on Fox News, they come out with this long list of advertisers who are no longer advertising, and the list is so long. These shows on television are only an hour long, and they have more people saying that they're dropping advertising than there are ad availabilities on the program. Right? How many commercials, what are there, 4 commercial breaks in these hour-long programs? They only have room for so many commercials. So I don't know how they figure all these companies won't advertise. There's not that many ad availabilities. And so far as My Pillow, they advertise with us here. My Pillow is in the business of selling great products, and they do support conservative programs like this one in Tucker Carlson, because they know, Mike Lindell works on the Trump campaign. He was at the Tulsa rally. He'll probably be in New Hampshire Saturday night, Mike Lindell. He knows that you all out there want to support his company because he's so vocally in favor of Donald Trump. I mean, he is Mike Lindell at MyPillow, out of the national companies, is the most vocally supportive Donald Trump company there is. And there's some incredible specials right now, including a brand new one. I'm going to tell my wife to order some of this new special today. She'll have to do the choosing of the specific colors and stuff. There's a new product that MyPillow is offering that I'll tell you about in a moment. But when you go to mypillow.com and you use the promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, no matter what special you see at mypillow.com, you can take advantage of it with the promo code KANE at checkout. And the 2-for-1 MyPillow offer is there right now, which is a great one. But there's another one that I got to tell you guys about. This one's brand new. MyPillow now has beach towels and blankets. Beach towels and blankets in multiple colors. These are spectacular. You can save up to 35% when you use the promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. They're made of 100% Giza Egyptian cotton. And I have the Egyptian cotton MyPillow sheets, and that Egyptian cotton is something else. They say they're extremely durable. They're for the beach. They're for the pool. I like to use beach towels when I get out of the shower, quite frankly. So I'm going to have my wife order some of these. They're machine washable and dryable, of course, and they come in a whole bunch of different colors. So beach blankets and beach towels from MyPillow, and save up to 35% off at mypillow.com when you use the promo code KANE at checkout. K-A-N-E. Take advantage of all of that. All right, now, the mask requirements. There was an incident at a Costco somewhere in America. I'm going to play this clip. The guy screaming, that I had to bleep out here, the guy screaming is a gentleman who was in a Costco without wearing a mask. And he was confronted by customers over being maskless. And it got pretty heated. Let me play this exchange for you. This is at a Costco yesterday.
You're 6 feet away from me. You're harassing me. I'm not harassing you. You're coming close. You're coming close. Back off! Yes. Threaten me again! Back the off! Put your phone down!
Okay, the guy screaming did not have a mask on. People that were customers were asking him to put a mask back on. Now, masks are required. It's the law. We must wear them these days. I'm not a big fan of it. When I go to Walt Disney World tomorrow, you're required to wear the mask. They have 3 designated areas in the whole park where you can take your mask off. And it's going to be pretty brutal because it's going to be hot as hell tomorrow. That's why I'm getting there as soon as they open. I will be in the park at this time tomorrow because I get there early before it gets super hot in the middle of the day. I'll be out of there and on my way back home. But this confrontation of people not wearing masks in stores. I was talking to one of our sponsors yesterday. I'm not going to tell you which one, but they were in a Dunkin' Donuts. And a customer came in. They were in line at Dunkin' Donuts. A customer was ahead of them in line and did not have a mask on. And the Dunkin' Donuts girl said, "You got to put you got to go put a mask on." And he said, "No." And she said, the rule is no mask, no service. And he says, "I'm not going to go put a mask on. I have some type of health condition, asthma or something." And she didn't like it, but she took his order and helped him and sent him on his way because I guess it was easier to do that because, there are a lot of people out there that are looking for an incident. I was at the Bank of America, a couple days ago, and I had to go inside the bank. I don't like to do all my banking on the teller machine. Some of it I will, but I don't like making deposits at the teller machine. I like to go inside, and there was a long line of people inside, and you have to wear a mask inside Bank of America, And they had one teller, and there was a line of, I don't know, 20 people or so. They had one teller, and they had 2 security guards enforcing social distancing. They had a guard at the front door making sure that people were social distance and wearing masks. And then they had a guard up by the tellers making sure that people maintained social distancing at that point. And they were enforcing this, by the way. I saw on a couple of occasions people were not social distanced to the recommended feet between people, and the security guard made them do it. And it's really odd and uncomfortable. It's crazy. I saw a confrontation with a guard in a bank at a Bank of America when they first opened up the lobbies a couple months ago, and I talked about it on the show then. It was pretty rough. A guy walked by the line, by everybody, and a security guard went nuts. And this guy and a couple people in front of me, he was very annoyed at the long line like anybody else, but he was being vocal about it, and he was mumbling out loud to himself, trying to get someone involved in a conversation with him. And he kept saying over and over, he says, they've got 2 security guards and 1 teller. What's going on here? What's happening? It was pretty annoying. I tweeted Bank of America about this and tagged them, so make sure, whatever that does. And he had a mask, but he kept taking it off. And then he'd put it back on, and then he'd take it off again. And what he was doing, I knew what this guy was doing. I had my phone ready in case it happened. I was going to record it. He was trying to get one of the security guards to make him put the mask on. And I could tell he was itching for a confrontation. He was trying to make an issue. And I find, like this guy that I played in the Costco, there are lots of people that are running around, I believe, trying to cause issues by not wearing masks in public. They want someone to stop them. All of a sudden, everybody has asthma, and the security guard saw this guy in line that was griping. I mean, he was grumpy the whole time. Oh my good, what, 2 security guards and there's 1 teller. He was very vocal, and he kept taking the mask off. And they saw him, and they made a choice. And the choice is to let him keep taking his mask off and putting it back on. We're not going to go there and escalate things. And he got helped and he left. And I could tell he was sorely disappointed that there was not, in my opinion, he was very disappointed that the security, he was trying to create an incident, kind of like when Rosa Parks, created an incident by sitting down on the front of the bus. She knew what she was doing. She did something good, don't get me wrong. I support Rosa Parks. Big love. Rosa Parks is going to have a statue in Trump's Garden of Heroes, and she certainly is an American heroine. But, it was an event that was created by the NAACP there. But it was a good thing. But, and so there's a lot of people that are trying to create conflicts over not wearing masks in public places right now. And this guy in Costco is one of them. But have any of you been out in any public places where someone has been maskless and you've been uncomfortable, you felt like saying something, or you saw someone say something? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. All right, let's take our break for the bottom of the hour. 32 minutes after. My name's Brian. This is the Steve Kane Show. Our number toll-free, 1-888-GO-KANE, 1-888-465-2631. We'll be right back.
You're 6 feet away from you. You're harassing me. I'm not harassing you. You're coming close. You're coming close. Back off! Threaten me again! Back the up! Put your phone down!
95.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470 WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
We are chatting today with Frank, the owner of 2 magnificent Ace Hardware stores. One, Deerfield Beach, 365 South Federal Highway, about a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough on the west side of Federal Highway. And the other, Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, half a block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the sea. How many years have you owned this business?
I've been in the hardware business for over 40 years, Steve.
If I have a home project that I'm doing, there are so many around the house, that's the big thing today. What's the difference of my experience if I go to Ace Hardware as opposed to these major impersonal chain stores?
Oh, there's a huge difference. The basic difference is customer service. We're an old-time fashion hardware store. We have experienced people that are working in our stores. Our employees are just top-notch. They're very experienced. They know their business. When you're doing a project, you can come into the store and you can get somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that will like to work with you. They'll find you the right project, the right pieces, the first time, so you can get in and out with the right material.
There are lots of Ace Hardware stores, but there are only 2 that are advertising with the Steve Kane Show. We're talking about the Deerfield location, a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough Boulevard on the west side of Federal, and of course the Beach Ace Hardware located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, a half block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the Sea. Very, very special locations. Be sure to mention Steve Kane sent you.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. When is the last time you reviewed your revocable living trust? If it's been more than 3 years, it needs to be reviewed. Call attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. He will review your trust at no charge. With 9 offices in South Florida, including Boca, downtown Fort Lauderdale, and Aventura. 1-855-FLA-3782. 1-855-FLA-3782.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
All right. Welcome back. 35 minutes after the hour. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Oh, man. Yeah, so Steve's on vacation this week. Steve just told me. I didn't know. He told me yesterday he was taking a vacation. I didn't know. Or if he told me, I forgot. My vacation's Thursday. I'm off Thursday, back Friday. Best of show tomorrow. I'll be at Walt Disney World at this time tomorrow. And if you follow me on YouTube, I may pop up on YouTube live at Disney World. Maybe. We'll see. The president's pushing for schools to reopen. And I understand this country's got to get reopened and back up and running. Homeschooling just is not that good. And, you know, this is an interesting debate that's going on, right? Because homeschooling, which I'm very much opposed to, I for a lot of reasons, but big supporters of homeschooling has always been conservatives. Conservatives have been promoting homeschooling for years. It needs to happen. It's a great alternative, etc., etc., etc. And now, those that are telling us that schooling at home is inadequate are conservatives, right? Conservatives are telling us that homeschooling's no good. Kids need to go back. I know. Isn't it an interesting twist? And it's the liberals all of a sudden who are pushing homeschooling. Yeah, I know. Isn't it weird? The liberals are promoting homeschooling. The conservatives are advocating against homeschooling. Never thought this would happen. I mean, this is crazy town we're in right now. But so far as the schools, my daughter is out of the public school, and I don't know what I would do so far. If I had a kid in, grade school, high school or something, I don't know if I would send them back to school next month. I don't know. My immediate thought is no. And the reason that is I'm very responsible. I'm a germaphobe anyway. Steve's been making fun of me for years about being a germaphobe, and there's no doubt about it. I fit into that category of germaphobe, and I always have been. Kids just don't take during regular cold and flu season. They bring home so many things. When my daughter was in school, high school, middle school, elementary school, I used to get sick. I used to get colds all of the time. And since she graduated high school, I rarely get sick. It's because, she's not in the public school where kids take no precautions. So I want to open up the whole country. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know about sending my kid back to school if I was in that situation. But listen to this. Washington State, where they just had the Chaz Chop, very liberal. Listen to this. This is so strange. Now, Washington State, they're going to be reopening their schools. Listen to this. Oh, there goes the Trump train. Hear the train coming by, guys? You can see, yeah, I know, there it is. There's the Trump train, it's going by. I don't have the camera on the window today, so you guys can't see it, but can you hear it? All right, so listen to that. This is in Breitbart. This is pretty liberal. I mean, liberals are just out of their minds. In its newly released planning guide titled Reopening Washington Schools 2020, Washington State's Reopening Work Group described on page 31 a phased-in brick-and-mortar school opening along with distance learning. The Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction stated that with a phased-in approach that would expect districts will prioritize face-to-face instruction. Some school facilities open for some groups of students while others remain closed until a later date or uncertain community characteristics are met. Students who are not attending face-to-face are participating in remote learning. According to the document, they would implement an approach. Great, the internet's rebooting here. They would implement an approach, grade level or phased-in priority. Now, this is in the Washington State plan, and the priority could serve all elementary students first, serve students furthest from educational justice first, including students with disability, English learners, students experiencing homelessness, poverty, students of color, and other student groups. So this is interesting. So students of color, code word for African Americans in Washington State, students of color are going to be prioritized to get back in school before white students. And I find it interesting, they call it, justice. I find it interesting that liberal Washington State groups black students in their schools in the same category as students with disabilities. Are they implying that being black is a disability? And so far as disadvantaged students of color, I think it is safe to say that Washington State is the most liberal state in America. I think Washington State is more liberal than California. You saw how they behaved with the Chaz Chop, right? Why would you need any type of justice for African Americans in a state that is the liberal paradise? Isn't there already equality? Why has racial justice not been achieved in the most liberal state in the union? Washington State. Does anyone know? Can anyone? What's the matter? Are the liberals of Washington State racist? So black students will get to go to school before white students, and they're lumped in with students with disabilities. That's great. I tell you, the left do not even hear themselves when they speak. They don't even understand. They don't even. That makes perfect sense in liberal land. Now, sad story this week. Dade County, they're closing down the restaurants again. Is it starting today? I'm not sure which day it starts. By the way, Wings Plus Sample Road is open for business. They have in-restaurant dining. They have tables outside. They also have takeout and curbside pickup and all of that. And I've also been told, I got to go over and experience this. They have some great new salads over at Wings Plus. And don't forget all those Boar's Head sandwiches. Oh my goodness. Those overstuffed Boar's Head roast beef sandwiches at Wings Plus are spectacular. Wings Plus about a mile west of University on the south side of Sample in Coral Springs. Masks are required, by the way, because it's the law here in Florida. Make sure you mention the Steve Kane Show when you stop into Wings Plus. Dade County, they're closing down again. They're keeping gyms open, but they're going to close down restaurants for in-restaurant dining. The mayor of Miami is a Republican, okay? So it doesn't mean he's not an incompetent. There was a train wreck of a press conference yesterday with Governor DeSantis and the mayor of Miami. And this mayor of Miami is mayor incompetence. Did you guys see any of this? I saw it on the YouTube. It was very, very good. Let me just play you a clip. And this was really, and they're talking about contact tracing in Dade County. Listen to DeSantis talk to the Miami mayor.
Governor, Miami-Dade has said that only Florida can contact trace and the Miami-Dade County cannot. Can you please explain why Miami-Dade County cannot contact trace?
He has hired contact trace.
He announced on May 14 that he was going to hire between 800 and 1,000 contact tracers, and he has not been able to hire them. And we asked them, and they gave us a statement saying that in Florida, only the Florida Department of Health can contact trace. Can you explain why during a pandemic?
Well, I don't think that I'm not sure that's correct. I mean, we want the county health departments to be involved in this, working with their local leadership. That's how they've been doing it the whole time. You know, as I said, we do have $138 million with CARES Act money that I approved, weeks ago for this and for other things that are significant. So, but I mean, I think that they should be able to do it and help do that. Well, no, he announced that he was going to do it, and so, and he told me, he gave us a heads up that they were going to be investing in some of it. We obviously have done it at the...
Okay, and it goes on. Now, the governor's sitting next to the Miami-Dade mayor, and the Miami-Dade mayor is a Republican. His what's his name? Jose? I don't know what his name is. It's something Hispanic. The mayor of Miami is wearing a mask. Governor DeSantis is not. They're just shutting everything down again in Miami. And I'm really concerned because we've got these liberals in Broward County, and Broward County, the whole time I've lived in South Florida, Broward County just caves and does whatever Dade does all the time. So I'm hoping Broward stays open. Glad I don't live in Broward anymore. But he's a Republican. He says they can't do the contact tracing in Dade County. And the governor's given him millions upon millions of dollars, and they have not done it. They said it's up to the state to do it, not them. Now he's sitting there with the governor, and he's like, The question is, and none of these reporters asked this, because even though the mayor is a Republican, he's doing what they want to do in the media, shut down the economy. These are never Trumper type Republicans. Where did the money go? Right? Governor DeSantis gave him money to hire these contact tracers. He says it's not up to them to do it. Where'd the money go? He took the money. He told DeSantis he hired. Where'd the money go? Yeah. See, a lot of what's going on here in these local communities, don't you see what's going on? What's going on in these local communities is these crises get them money. They get state money and federal money for the crisis. Remember that lunatic governor up in Michigan that we don't hear about anymore? And then all of a sudden she's asking for Trump money, right? And you see other Democrats around the country doing it. Listen, the federal government's corrupt, but you know what? The local government's even more corrupt. I mean, it's on a smaller scale, but there's just so corruption. These local communities want the federal and state money that comes from having a crisis. And a lot of the shutdowns around the country are like in Dade County. They're getting money. Apparently, they're not using it for what they're supposed to use it for. And they're shutting down the economy again, trying to cause another disaster, which means what? More money. And, that press conference yesterday, it says it all. You got DeSantis sitting there, the governor, at a table with the Miami-Dade mayor. The mayor is wearing a mask, and DeSantis is not. See, DeSantis wants to get the economy of Florida open again, right? But the mayor wants to keep the economy shut down, except for gyms. He's letting gyms stay open. Why the hell can a gym stay open, but a restaurant? I don't get that. The beaches have to be closed, but gyms can be open. I don't understand what that's about. I don't know. They can, whatever. People using the machines and everything, it seems to be more of a risk than the other things. But regardless of all that, okay? That's what it's all about. It's about getting money from the state, getting money from the federal government for the crisis, and then where the money goes, well, it didn't go for the contact tracers that they were going to hire with the state money, did it? Now, listen, getting tested for coronavirus, I've been tested. I've been tested actually 3 times now, and I'll get tested again. Any lab test now of Boca, any lab test now of Coral Springs. By the way, both any lab test now of Coral Springs and Boca are open this Saturday. Last Saturday was 4th of July. This Saturday they are open, and of course they're open today, tomorrow, and Friday too. They have on-the-spot COVID-19 coronavirus testing. You get the results on the spot in 15 minutes. I was talking on Monday, someone in my extended family has, and their spouse have coronavirus. And the weekend before last, they were feeling kind of, something's coming on, probably a cold. So they went to one of the public testing facilities where they stick the thing up your nose, back to the eyeball that hurts like hell, and they got tested. And they got their results the painful way 4 or 5 days later. And they were living their life during those 4 or 5 days, encountering God. Now, they're isolated now, but they weren't then. If they would have gone to any lab test now of Coral Springs or any lab test now of Boca, they could have done it on the spot. They would have gotten their positive results as soon as they had symptoms. They would have isolated. God, I hope they didn't infect a bunch of people while they were waiting for the results. And by the way, the test at any lab test now of Coral Springs and Boca, just a little finger test. And you get the results in 15 minutes. I went with Steve and his son. We got our results last week. Boom, that's it. You walk in, 15 minutes later, you walk out, you know, positive or negative. Someone else in my family was sick with something unrelated to any of this stuff, and their work wanted them to get tested for COVID before they could come back to work. So they went over to any lab test now of Coral Springs and got the test. And so if you're in that situation, if you're an employer or an employee, and you have to get your employees tested, or you're a worker and you need to have a test so you can go to work and make money, any lab test now at Coral Springs, any lab test now at Boca, you can stop in during your lunch hour. You can stop in on the way to work. You walk in, 15 minutes later, you have your result. And by the way, it's only $69. And it's not painful. That thing up the nose, back to the eye, screw that. I'll never do that. No way in hell would I do that. They'd have to hold me down to do that. It's like so medieval. But any lab test now of Boca and Coral Springs, just a little finger test, 15 minutes, you've got the result. Any lab test now of Coral Springs is on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood, over by the Coral Square Mall. Their number, if you got any questions, is 954-906-5983. 954-906-5983. Any lab test now of Boca is in the Sandalfoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is, south of Palmetto Park Road, north of Hillsborough, on the east side of 441 State Road 7. And their number is 561-237-5009. 561-237-5009. Now, before we get to the top of the hour, I do think that this definitely deserves a mention, because this was we spent so much time on this program back in those days talking about this topic. This person, I think they deserve a mention. Mary Kay Letourneau has died of cancer, and Mary Kay Letourneau was, if you don't remember, is there anyone that does not remember Mary Kay Letourneau? Oh my goodness. She was a elementary school teacher, and she was involved in a sexual relationship with a 12-year-old male student. Villy was his name. And that story, she was a married mom. She had a couple of kids. That story was such a huge story. Everyone in America was talking about it. And her husband divorced her and took the kids and moved to Alaska. And I'm sure I would imagine, changed their names. I don't know, because you never hear from them. And she got a very light sentence. And I think Mary Kay Letourneau, she claimed she was arrested. He was 12. She was in her third. I think she was. The number 34 stands out of my mind. She was in her early 30s. He was 12, and they started having sex. And she got a very light sentence. And I think that case became national. There's been other stories with teachers, but that story became a national story. She became very famous. It was huge. Everyone talked about it every day, all day. It was on every news show, everything. They made a movie about her. It's because she was attractive. She was a good-looking woman. Does anyone think she was not a good-looking woman? She's not some creepy-looking, overweight woman. She was a good-looking woman. And when someone's good looking, people are interested, especially because it involves sex. And people are like, why would such a good looking woman be having sex with this 12-year-old kid? So she got a very light sentence, and she got out on probation, right? And then she got arrested again. She got caught with him in a car. She wouldn't have sex with him again. And then she went to prison and did some time. And when she went to jail, by the way, she was pregnant with his baby. So she did her time. She got out of prison, and they ended up getting married. And they had two daughters. They have two kids together. And then they were married for 14 years, and then they got divorced. And the last time I saw her on TV a couple years ago. I guess it was probably had to do with their divorce. And she still didn't look that bad, and she's died of cancer. And, you know, the thing about, this is what I really remember, because the kid, when he turned 8, we never got to see what he looked like. And his name was Billy. And then when he turned 18, they could put his picture in the paper, right? And they did interviews. And I remember the story came back again after he turned 18. They were together. They got married when he grew up. And when people saw him, the story was like, "Are you what? She did all this for this kid." He was not good looking. He had like a scar on his face, Billy. He had a scar across his face. He was not good looking, and people were. This was a discussion at the time. People thought, well, this guy must be like so good looking if this hot teacher risked it all and then went back to him after, and he had the scar on his face, and people were like, oh my goodness. But they divorced 14 years after they were married, and they say that he took care of her and was by her bedside in her final moments. So Mary Kay Letourneau is dead. She died of cancer. And, you know, anytime these teacher stories come up, if the teacher is, there was one in Tampa a few years ago with a teacher that was like a bikini model. If the teachers are hot, if they're good looking, they get a much lighter sentence than if they're ugly, because the attitude is almost, you know, come on, you know, look how hot they, there's something to be said about that. If she was not good looking, Mary Kay Letourneau, she would have done some serious hard time. And, you know, there's a lot of talk about white privilege. The privilege, and I bring this up because it fits to Mary Kay Letourneau. There is privilege in this society. The privilege is for very good-looking people. If someone is very good-looking, they got it made. If they're not, like, for example, Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein, he's Pizza the Hutt from Spaceballs, right? Takeoff of Jabba the Hutt. I mean, Harvey Weinstein is as disgusting as a man can be physically. And then when they had the trial, and you found out he was deformed, one of the women that he assaulted said that when she saw Harvey Weinstein naked, she thought he had been burned. Now, if Harvey Weinstein looked like Tom Cruise, another Hollywood person, right, would he be in prison for the rest of his life? You know, so the privilege in our society isn't so much white privilege, although I will agree in certain situations there is that in some certain situations. The privilege is, there's two kinds of privilege. The first and foremost is good-looking, very attractive, hot people. That's one. The second privilege is money. You combine wealth and hotness, you don't have a worry ever in your world. But if you're just really good-looking, men and women, you've got all the doors are opened up to you. Everyone wants to hire you. Everyone wants to work with you. Everyone wants to sleep with you. They want to impress you. That's the way it is. And Mary Kay Letourneau, who's died yesterday of cancer, and she's younger than I thought. She was 58. I thought she would have been over 60 by now, but she was so young when this happened. Mary Kay Letourneau is a benefactor of not white privilege. She wasn't rich. She was a school teacher. She was a benefactor of being good looking. Right? I mean, come on. I'm not saying she's, a hot model, but so far as an average woman, she's above average in her looks. And she's good. And the last picture they have of her is from 2018. I think she even looked better with age. I personally think she was a hot-looking woman. Right? If she was not hot, she would have done 20, 30 years or more. But because she's good-looking, she basically got away with having sex with a 12-year-old kid. So that's the privilege in our society. All this talk about white privilege, it's really looks. Money, but mostly looks. All right, listen, we're coming up on the top of the hour. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to the longest-running radio show in Florida, The Steve Kane Show. On the radio since 1977, our number, toll-free from anywhere, 1-888-GO-KANE 1, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. 2 hours down, 1 to go. We'll be back with the final hour right after this.
5.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
This is Steve Kane, and I wanted to share with you some thoughts about why I chose the Gardens of Boca Raton to be my final resting place. I have always been uncomfortable with thoughts of death and dying, but the very first time that I visited the Gardens of Boca Raton, I could feel my apprehensions
Hey, Ed, how you doing? Yeah, Steve's not going to be in today. He's off this whole week.
This is for you guys.
Oh, I appreciate it. I didn't know he was going to be off until yesterday. I had forgotten. I would have told you.
Would you rather me not?
No, you're fine. You're fine. I just didn't know. I got you set up there with your headphones. You can sit down if you want. Out there and then down the hallway to the right.
The gardens have caring professionals available.
Do I need to wear a mask or
in your time of need, 24
There's nobody
hours
here
a
yet
day,
anyway.
7 days a week. Pre-need with 0% financing is available and prevents your family from having to deal with these matters at the time of their grief and sorrow. The Gardens of Boca Raton, dedicated to all those who have lived and all those who live today. Let the Gardens take care of your family as they are taking care of my family. Schedule a tour today. Call 877-PLAN-561 or online at thegardens.com. Tell them Steve Kane sent you.
Are you between the ages of 18 and 60 and have thought about getting life insurance but never had the time? Or thought life insurance was too much work? Well, now is the time. Life insurance has changed. People are living longer, so rates are being reduced. These new life insurance policies also have living benefits, which means the owner can accelerate a portion of the policy's initial death benefit should the insured become critically, chronically, or terminally ill. And the majority of applicants get approved without a medical exam and simplified underwriting, which means you're approved even faster. I will advise can still assist anyone from the ages of 60 to 85
next week,
life insurance.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You can sit down or stand up. It's up to you. The arm on that mic is pretty heavy. It's hard to move. So.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by Attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. Are you concerned with the
I brought you a little article.
Okay.
I don't know if you read something I sent you a couple of weeks ago.
I didn't get an email. No,
It was an interesting take on the social engineering issue. That was done after the Ferguson issue.
Okay. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Okay. I'll look at it after.
Good news, folks. These processes are completely reversible. With his 20 years of experience in age management medicine, Dr. Matez can offer safe, effective protocols that will work for everyone. The Boca Raton Center for Age Management offers hormone replacement therapies, intravenous therapies, peptide therapies, and a host of other cutting-edge modalities that rejuvenate the human body.
Everything's good, yeah.
If you want to get back to feeling good, looking good, and functioning well, call Dr. Matez at the
You can move the mic if you want. It's just hard to move it. That arm is heavy. Yeah, but I don't think you need. I just stand up. It gives me more energy.
It's like when you sing, you should stand
Yeah.
so the diaphragm is open rather than compressing it. I gotta wake up first.
Oh, well. Show's almost over, so 57 minutes to go.
Longest running radio show, The Steve K Show. To call the show toll free. Call 1.
All right, third and final hour has begun. I'm Brian. This is Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. We have Ed Pasquale.
Good morning, South Florida. How are we all doing today?
Yeah, yeah, you're doing good. Boy, to turn you down a little bit. You're filled with energy.
Okay,
It's
Brian,
our new studio, Ed.
Before we begin, I'd like to just wish a belated birthday to our country. July 4th was last week, and I want to make sure nobody forgets the freedoms that our country offers and the individualism and the founding principles of our founding fathers.
Absolutely.
It's so critical in today's cancel culture and with what's going on, and the idea that they want to replace 4th of July with other holidays and remove the history of who we are and how we got here. So,
it's
happy birthday, America.
It's almost like the cancel culture and the left are upset that the civil rights movement's goals have been accomplished. I mean, we've had a black president twice elected. I consider the election of Barack Obama the completion of the civil rights movement, and it seems that they regret it. Like it's still not. They're fighting. Remember, like in the 60s and 70s, you'd hear these stories. They probably weren't true, but you hear these stories that they would find some Japanese soldiers on Pacific Islands that thought the war was still going on.
Yeah.
That's Black Lives Matter and the cancel culture. They're still fighting the civil rights movement war, which was won.
Well, the entirety of the whole black movement was really just a tool for the people that want to create division in this country. And with the election of Obama, what they claimed to be institutional systemic racism should have been over. There is no such thing in this country as that. There were individual acts of racism, but the idea that most of the leaders of our country, many of the leaders of our country in the cities, many leaders of the CEOs of corporations and the police units are people of color. So the systemic racism is gone. It's a nonsense thing.
I mean, like, look at the Atlanta incident with Brooks. The police chief is black. The mayor is black. By the way, you got a black woman. I mean, we have complete inclusion. Don Lemon said that they should add Barack Obama's face to Mount Rushmore.
Well, they would have to blow up to the other 4 first.
I mean, give me a break. I mean, so we're going to alter the work of an artist and a sculptor. What's next?
Well, when they erase history and they fundamentally change America to a socialist
Well,
country.
this isn't new. This is what the left do everywhere in the world.
Well, this has been going on. I'm a child of the '60s, and I grew up with the student protest, and I watched the Chicago 8 and Mark Rudd. I was up at Columbia University watching him on the steps of Columbia University with the SDS and the Black Panthers as brothers in arms for the violent overthrow of the government at that point, of the military-industrial complex. They all vowed to go into the system and work the system from within when they realized they couldn't. And, the hippies went to the yippies went to the yuppies went underground for a while, and they emerged as the postmodernist progressives that are out there today.
Yeah, and, Steve and I were good friends with Eldridge Cleaver of the Black Panthers. And Eldridge Cleaver was the propaganda minister for the Black Panthers, and he was involved in that big ambush of the cops out in Oakland, you know. And we were very good friends, actually, with Eldridge Cleaver, and been out to dinner with him and everything else. And he's passed away. And he was he was more radical than any Black Lives Matter person today. And he did his time. And remember, he had a book, Soul on Ice. And he came out and became a big conservative Republican.
Did he really? I hadn't.
Yeah, and there was another guy too that we knew, Tony Bryant. He was the Black Panther that hijacked the plane to Havana.
Mm-hmm.
And he did 12 years, and he thought that Castro was going to welcome him, and he became a conservative Republican
Is that
too.
why Angela Davis went down?
Yeah, they was going down to meet up with Angela Davis, but but Eldridge became a big group. They saw the fallacy of what the Black Lives Matter movement thinks is still going on, and they were living through it.
Today, being, as I said, being a child of the '60s, what we're experiencing today isn't just something that happened through Obama's administration or the Trump administration. This has been going on for an entire generation.
Yeah.
And if Cloward and Piven and Saul Alinsky had a child together, this would be the result of it today. The overload of the system, rallying around false causes.
That's exactly what they're doing. Trying to cause a collapse.
This is the move, and we need to be aware of it, and people need to be educated to it.
I don't think they're that, people, their numbers are smaller than you think. The reason this happens in Democrat cities and not conservative cities is because only the Democrats would allow it to happen. But their ideas are not mainstream. If their ideas were mainstream, every American city and town would have these things happen.
You're right, but there's been a systematic approach over the last 50 years to get us to where we're at right now. The left and progressives have... through the propaganda arm, have controlled the message between the media, the fake news. They've gone through the indoctrination process of taking over the message in the primary schools, of teaching the contempt for our country to our children today, the forgetfulness of history. And ultimately, it shows itself in the universities with the censorship and the political correctness.
Yeah.
Of thought control, and when those are the tools of tyranny. And initially, Marxism. This is an entirely a Marxist ideal that's been gestating for the last 100 years in this country, and it's being exposed today. And normally, the Marxists want to, through violent means, take over the means of production, but before they can do that, they need to take over the means of communication, and that's exactly what they're doing today.
Well, I was talking the last couple of weeks, we've been talking on the show, about these monuments. With rare exception, okay, everything they take down is a Democrat, right? There's some exceptions, Frederick Douglass, Christopher Columbus, but that's just because these are in northern cities where there's no Confederate monument. And Pelosi taking down those paintings of the speakers a couple weeks ago. The Democrats are trying to wipe out their history with blacks and write a new history. They're trying to wipe out anything that reminds people that they were the party that was holding down blacks.
I'm not sure. I believe that becomes an effect of what they're doing, but I'm not sure that it's as planned as you may lead it to be. I think it's just creating division and erasing the entirety of our history.
Yeah.
That's what most...
rewrite it.
Rewrite history. Every culture that comes in, or every dictator that comes in, does that. They remove the historical past and they create their own narrative.
Well, it's like one thing you see, one of the most important books ever written, not the most important, that would be the Bible, but the Animal Farm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big, very important book. Everyone should read Animal Farm. It'll take you about 3 hours if you read slow. But, and 1984. In 1984, no matter who the president is, the opposing party always says we're living in 1984, right? When Bush was president, the Democrats said we're 1984. Now, when Obama was president, conservatives said, and you see how people take history and morph it to their own thing. They take 1984, George Orwell's book, and both political parties say we're in 1984. And that's what it's revisionist history, and it's really dangerous.
Well, right now, if I had to have a motto today, I would say 2020 clearly envisions 1984 today. And yes,
how so? What do you mean specifically?
Well, 1984 was a dystopian society where there was a collectivized system where the individual was minimized.
Yeah.
Government mandates controlled everything from production to thought, which is what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
And it's all supported with the use of force at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you are seeing that. You are seeing force becoming accepted as a means of accomplishing an ends. And once that happens, that's the beginning of the end of any society.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I think right now that Bob Barr is doing a major investigation into Antifa. I think they're infiltrating Antifa. and looking to find out who's really behind it. You know, there was this couple in the news that got charged with crimes for painting over Black Lives Matter. There's all this. You know, it's against the law to deface their defacement. And the prosecutor was a Soros-backed prosecutor. And a lot of people don't know this, but about 10 years ago, George Soros started moving on to local politics and started backing local district attorneys candidates all over the country. And there are, I guess, sleeper agents all over America that were backed by Soros who are now deciding what's a crime and what's not a crime. It's pretty scary.
It does. It's a top-down approach right now by the intellectual elites from, the academics from the top-tier universities.
Well, conservatives gave up the school system to the liberals. You know, they're rewriting the history right now, but all the history's been written by liberal college professors, and it's not. I saw today they were going after, was it Chomsky? I can't remember. One of the big leftists is not left enough. I'll look it up during the break. I forgot which one. One of the classic leftists that's still alive. The conservatives let the liberals take over the universities and the public education system, and this is a result of it. And you know what I was wondering? There's a lot of anger towards all these things from the generation that's in their 20s. I'm wondering if it's Common Core. If, Common Core was in place the last decade or so, the generation that are tearing everything down, that have this negative opinion on all our history, were educated under Common Core. And I'm wondering what Common Core was teaching so far as civics and American history.
Well, I think
that has them
Common
so
Core got hijacked, to a federalized program. The initial beginnings of it, particularly here in Florida under Jeb, because we ended up with a tremendous education system down here as an example for most of the other states. But unfortunately, Jeb was not able to articulate really the principles of Common Core.
No.
And got hijacked to a federal type of program where there's one centralized message.
Yeah.
And again, you control the message, you control the narrative.
Yeah. Now, Steve's on vacation. I'd forgotten Steve was going to be off this week, and I didn't tell Ed. And Ed, you brought in a whole thing of nice cookies. And since Steve's not here, I get the cookies.
You get the cookies.
These are
sorry,
your
Steve. New
Steve.
studio, and your studio is beautiful. And
Yeah, it is nice.
I just wanted to thank you. It's
So-
a little further from my house, but...
Yeah, it's the same distance for me, so that's fine. Now, I got to tell everyone about Champagne Automotive Repair in Boca. This is our newest sponsor here on the Steve Kane Show. And they are to automotive repair what Friendly Tire is to tires. They have great deals. They're honest. Ed and Ed, you'll like them. They're both named Ed, father and son team.
Ed Squared.
Yeah. Ed and Eddie are the father and son team that own Champagne Automotive Repair. And over the years, I tell people, we have wanted an auto repair shop to join us here on the Steve Kane Show for a long time. It is very difficult because auto repair shops, they have a reputation for being crooks, and it's hard to find someone that we can recommend to. They'll treat us great, right? But to recommend you to go to them, and we found just that in Champagne Automotive Repair. Champagne Automotive in Boca will never do a repair on your vehicle that your vehicle does not need. We had one of our listeners called in a couple weeks ago. He was at another shop before Champagne Automotive. They said he needed new brakes. He went over to Champagne. They said, no, you don't need brakes. That's what it is. So you can trust these guys. And I know we've had listeners drive an hour each way to go to Champagne Automotive, and that's because you can trust them. Their phone number, 561-245-8101, 561-245-8101. They're located off of Spanish River and Dixie Highway in Boca. They're listed at SteveKaneShow.com. Champagne Automotive Repair. Make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show.
An outrageous fortune for your tires. Go easy on your budget.
Am I loud enough for you?
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
In Margate, where they have all the major brands like Goodyear.
When you're coming back
and
from
Firestone
Orlando?
at discount prices.
I'm just going up for tomorrow, just for the day. I'll be back Friday.
Tires for his Toyota van. At the other shops, $175 a tire. At Friendly Tire, just $75 a tire. That's a $100 savings per tire. Tires for my daughter Emily's car, $135 at the shops around town. The price at Friendly Tire, only $65. That's a $70 savings per tire.
I was going to say bastardized child, but I didn't know if that would...
Yeah, you can say bastardized. You can say bastardized. It's not one of the 7 words.
Have a great selection of good used tires too, starting at just $30.
Yeah, Noam Chomsky. They're going after Noam Chomsky. He's not left enough.
At Friendly Tire.
I mean, that's...
It doesn't matter. They're just going to keep pushing it and pushing it.
Well, they don't know who he is. Yes.
954-977.
He's an old white guy.
954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net.
Once you give up a little bit, you end up there. There's nothing like being a little pregnant. You're either pregnant or not.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as being a little socialist or a little liberal.
Your entire home energy
In a
efficient
political
by
sense.
upgrading some or all of the following: roofs, doors, windows, insulating your attic, AC systems and ducts, hot water heaters, and even adding solar.
An interesting
Energy
documentary I had
efficient
seen that was done a
improvements
couple of
actually pay for
years ago.
themselves over a
I
short
forgot what the
period of time.
title was,
Our program is
but it
designed
went
to
into
make savings on your electric bill
described
pay
that
for
there
all
were
part of
80
your local
congressmen
commitments.
and
Base
20
program is
senators
government-sponsored and gives
that
you
have
up to 30 years of
infiltrated
pay.
the
Requires
political
no credit
system
check,
Yeah.
no
with
money
big
down,
monies.
no
Oh, yeah.
Like you were saying, over the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
To get them in. And the connections to the communist parties and to the Muslim Brotherhood specifically, those were the two movements.
954-939-1500. 954-939-1500 to start saving money now.
Feeling old, tired, run down, struggling with your sex life or weight control? Dr. Matez can fix it. Call the Boca Raton Center for Age Management at 561-953-5490 or visit their website at brc4am.com.
Listen to the Steve King Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for
All right, we are back. I'm Brian. We're here with Ed Pasquale. You know, Steve told me, he said he was talking to you on the phone and you have crazy ideas, and he didn't tell me what they were about. But he said, ask Ed about his crazy ideas, and I said, well, I don't think Ed will consider his ideas crazy. He may not know what we're referencing, and he didn't. What could Steve be talking about?
Well, you know, I think this is a...
That's what he said.
You know, yeah, Steve and I had
I don't know
a
what it
long
was.
discussion.
That's what he told me.
You know, when
Said
he
you're
wanted
crazy.
to, you know, he had this epiphany that, you know, we were having this outbreak because of the younger population being cooped up for so long and wanting to get out and,
Yeah.
you know, reduce the social distancing because, you know, that's what young kids do.
I don't know about this young generation. They don't seem very sexual.
Well,
They seem to do everything. Half of them are gay, and out of the other half, a quarter of them are on their phones all the time. I don't think they're sexually as active as they used to be.
Yeah, you know, basically, we were talking, and you touched on it before, about the financing coming from the Soroses and the Rothschilds and the Bill Gates, and yes, these are the mega wealthy, the Bezoses, that are controlling the message, and they've controlled it through their grants and subsidies through various governmental projects, and in fact, our own government has financed many of the universities that were anti-American. Not only the universities,
Like American University, by the way, where NPR broadcasts, the most un-American university is American University.
And we finance.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
It's
that's
crazy.
kind of a strange thing, but it's
Yeah.
no different than we did after World War II. We went in under the Bretton Woods Accord, and we financed all the countries because we were supposed to be guilty for winning the war. And I don't know if a lot of people realize, but John Maynard Keynes was one of the main directors of the Bretton Woods Accord, and that just basically put us behind the guilt that we have to bring all the other countries up to our level, and you know, basically the egalitarian idea of take away from the ones who produce and give to the ones who don't. And the European countries have, over the years, taken advantage of that. It's kind of like the mouse that ruled.
You know, I'm gonna sneeze, Ed, but don't. I was just tested for coronavirus. It's my it went away. Good. I mean, I tell you, there's nothing worse than the feeling these days that you're gonna cough, clear your throat, or sneeze. Because if you do any of those things, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They freak out at you.
Everybody turns and looks at you.
Exactly. You're in big trouble.
Yeah.
You're in big. Luckily, the sneeze went away. I thought I was gonna
So
sneeze.
you take
but
the
it-
sneeze and you internalize it, and then it comes out another part.
You know, a lot of people wonder, okay, here's the thing. If Hillary Clinton had won the presidency in 2016, would the country have been shut down?
I don't think the country would have been shut down. I think it would have just been an idea for seizing more control. In the past, most of the centralized leaders that we've had on both parties, every time a crisis has occurred, we've lost more and more liberties.
Yeah.
Whether it was the Patriot Act, the economic crisis of 2007, 2008, or what's going on now. I think Clinton would have just taken this opportunity to actually taken more control of industry and more power into the centralized government. One of the good things I think Trump has done is he took this crisis and actually reversed it. He's probably the first president to do this in many, many years. but he brought the power back to the states, back to the governors to make their choices, and he deregulated industry, and that's moved us all forward at a speed that.
But you know, these Democrats, you see these Democrats, whether it's in Broward County or the state of New York, or wherever. Once Democrats take liberty, they take freedom and they away from you, and they don't want to give it back. And this move to shut things down again, they don't want to give up this power they have. And what I'm afraid of is that the Democrats are going to use this health scare for many decades to come to take control. Right now it's this, but in 5 years, when we'll have a Democrat president one day again, they may say we got to lock down because of climate change.
The
national health issue.
There's no question.
It's pretty scary.
Where it's going. We talked about.
It's almost like this was a test.
It's exactly what it is. This is an experiment to see what the people will tolerate.
And everyone's tolerated it.
Everybody's just succumbing to it, and that's really the danger. That's what bothers me. I looked at some of the.
I mean, we both have masks. We both have masks with us. I mean, people have given up the freedom of religion, assembly. Just like that.
And it's the freedom of speech, and people are afraid to voice anything for fear of retribution. And once you shut down free speech, freedom of speech is not about going along with what everybody else and what the common word is. Freedom of speech is about having a dissenting voice and having an open, rational discussion.
Yeah.
Not just a spoon-fed indoctrination. So.
Well, when you look, when you look at the lockdown and everything in Florida, we've lost a little over 3,000 people, if the numbers are even accurate, from corona. And in New York, where they did a complete liberal shutdown, it's over 30,000.
Yeah, there's no question. I think DeSantis has done a great job.
Oh, he's wonderful, isn't he?
In our country, and it's been measured for what he's done.
We're so lucky to have him. If that guy, what was the name of the guy that ran for governor that was in the hotel room with the overdose male prostitute? Yeah, I knew the name. I just want to get the description out.
And by the way, it was only not a lot of votes.
No, he almost was the governor.
We almost lost that, and Gillum would have been. We would have had a complete shutdown.
We wouldn't be here talking right now.
Florida would not be the Florida we know.
It'd be North Korea.
Very, very.
And there would be no end in sight. Exactly.
It would become the next Hong Kong, because that's where Hong Kong is.
Well, when you say this is a test, what they're doing now, what do you see them do? You see them shutting down the country in the future over other things now?
I think you're seeing on a larger scale a geopolitical movement around the world on a global basis. The globalization movement that came out of post-World War II, with the intellectual elite, with the Bushes and the Clintons and the rest, with the multilateralism, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, the World Council. They were looking towards a one world government, and that's kind of taken a sidetrack, with Brexit, with the Hong Kong protests that have come up.
Will you get the vaccine when it's out this year?
I will not.
Really? You're not going to get the vaccine?
No, not at all. First of all, they're not even sure how effective the vaccine is going to be, but I certainly don't want to.
Do you get the flu shot?
No.
I haven't had it in years.
I don't get the flu shot.
I've got, anytime I've gotten the flu shot, it's made me and everyone in my family that's gotten it sick. I don't get the flu shot.
I've come to suspect much of what Big Pharma has done with promoting the various vaccines, because they moved off of vaccines when we were kids, when we used to line up at 5, 6 years old and get the vaccines for polio and smallpox and things of that nature, which were proper, which were good. They shouldn't be mandated, but right now the vaccines is just about the money, and it's about control. And the Big Pharma was unable to come out with new medication because it takes such a long process through the FDA. It's maybe 10 to 12 years and cost them $5 to $6 billion. And then they only have the patent for a short number of time after that. If they can do a vaccine, the market is opened up to 7 billion people across the world.
Everybody, the world.
And
you know what it's almost like? It's like, I remember when Obamacare was passed, we had an insurance agent in the studio, and first thing I said is like, how's it feel that federal law mandates people buy your product? He's like, it feels great, and the insurance company screwed themselves by backing it. Do you know anyone personally in your circle, in your circle, that's had coronavirus?
Yes, I know two.
How close are they to you?
They were very close friends. In fact,
how'd they do?
Interesting story. They left for Italy at the end of February.
Oh wow!
And we had
the
dinner
hotbed of the world.
We had dinner with them the week before they left. They're skiers, and they went to northern Italy, no less.
Oh my goodness!
You know, so obviously as
they got it in Italy.
They got it in Italy.
Oh, that doesn't count.
They came back with it.
Oh, great!
They were both hospitalized. The husband was in intensive care for quite a while. This is when hydroxychloroquine was just becoming noted, before it was politically, politically the devil, so to speak. And the wife went out and got the hydroxy for her husband, and he recovered probably within about 5 or 6 days.
The wife went out and got it and gave it to her husband while he was in the hospital?
Well, she tracked down the infectious disease doctor of the hospital and promoted and got it in, and he recovered.
5-6 days.
5-6 days
Wow.
later, he was out. Tested positive negative 3 times after that.
Wow.
We've had dinner several times with them, and it was quite a scare. At that time, he was afraid of being put on a ventilator because the odds of being on a ventilator were not great.
You know, from what I've heard, when you go on the ventilator, very few, if anyone, comes off of them. That's
it
like
was 1 in 5 typically that succeeded. But they misdiagnosed the disease. In fact, there's talk right now that the disease is really not as viral; it's more bacterial, and
it's weaker. They're saying
aspirin,
it's weaker now.
Just letting the blood flow in the lungs. Helps a lot.
You know, it's interesting how illness, diseases, and viruses are political, like AIDS. You know, I remember when AIDS was new, people were afraid they would get it like they thought it was like bubonic plague, but we didn't know how it was true. Well, now we know. It sounds ridiculous, but Steve was at a radio station, then he had someone in with full-blown AIDS, and some of the air staff wouldn't come into the studio until it was sanitized by professional teams. And that became, and there was a big movement. That's okay. People with AIDS, you can be around them and everything. With this, the same people that were telling us how safe AIDS was are telling us how dangerous this is to keep control over us.
That's where Fauci kind of made his bones back then.
AIDS and Burke's.
But you're not allowed to call it AIDS. It's HIV/AIDS.
Yeah.
Because they
it used to be GRIDS, remember?
They were mistaken in their identification of it and how it propagated itself going forward. It was more a lifestyle than it was a particular pandemic like we have.
Yeah, and when there's it was a book that was made into a movie on HBO called, and the band played on, that talked about how the Centers for Disease Control, how they tracked down how AIDS was being transmitted and how the left really fought to keep that knowledge not known to people. But diseases and viruses and things have always been political. You know, I think this one's worse because they shut down the entire country's economy for 3 months, and it's still, and the Democrats are still fighting to, when I was talking earlier before you were here about the Dade County mayor, who's a Republican, is there with DeSantis.
That's questionable Republican.
Yeah, really. He Banana Republic down there in Dade. Sorry, yes, and it is a reference to the Hispanic culture down there because I've been to South America. They have everything we have, but it's corrupt, okay? It could be just like America. It's Puerto Rico. Look at how corrupt that is, and they're part of us, But he's sitting there talking about how they can't do the contact tracing, and DeSantis says, well, wait, I gave him the money for it. He said where'd the money go? He said he gave him the money for the contact tracers. He said he hired them, and now he says he can't do it.
The problem is when government dispenses money.
That's right.
It's not about the money, it's about the money at the end of the day. And
they're all like Biden.
That's where the corruption comes from.
That's why Biden and doesn't why are they picking on me? Everybody does this, right? I mean, that's the way it is. Listen, let's take our break for the bottom of the hour. When we get back, there's more to share. If you'd like to call in, please do 1-888-GO-CANE 1-888-465-2631. We'll be back right after this.
You say Biden says that. I just got to tell you, 2 Wangs don't make a white.
Yeah, exactly. You get in trouble with that one.
Listen to one of our listeners, Ray, talk about his experience with Barry Siegel.
I want to praise Barry Siegel, and one of the most important things about.
But I do think we have to take it from the top-down approach and go from the bottom up.
Yeah.
It needs to appeal to the common man.
It's our health report.
She had a trust and everything. She had not revised this trust since 1997. And Barry says every 3 years at least you gotta. I called Barry's office because I had a question. I let the secretary know. I said, look, I'm calling from South Carolina. I know the laws are different, and I'm just asking for information for my sister. Now, you know, most people would just blow you off, right? Yeah. You know, almost immediately, within a few minutes, Barry himself called me. I asked my questions and so on, and he answered. He was very patient. I was quite a while with him, and talked about a lot of things, you know, and this and that. But I wanted to say, you know, character, integrity, these are the most important things with sponsors, and all of your sponsors, because I've dealt with a lot of them. They all have that you can trust them and you know you're getting a fair shake.
Do what Ray did. Call attorney Barry Siegel right now. Toll free 1-855-FLA-3782. That's 1-855
Steve Kane Show.
FLA-3782. Tell him Steve sent you.
Hold on.
Just search for WW.
All right, we are back. I'm Brian, and of course Ed Pasquale is here. It's time to check in with Richard Pearl from Simply Natural for the Morning Health Report. Richard Pearl, good morning. Good. Today's Wednesday. That means your radio show is this morning on our radio stations at 11 a.m. Yeah. You know, one thing I find interesting is they never subtract the people that are now testing negative. They just keep adding to the number. They never subtract people that are recovered. That would be like the unemployment number. If you started the unemployment number and never subtracted the people that find jobs, right? How many people would be unemployed if you did it that way? Wow. Yeah. Well, Birx said that they count very liberally. For example, if someone dies of heart disease or a heart attack and they're also COVID positive, they mark that down as a corona death. Yeah, Birx said that. That's not me. That's Dr. Birx. Well, listen, Richard Pearl at Simply Natural, you know, you're in the business of nutraceuticals. You have incredible supplements. I'm taking between 8 and 10 supplements each and every day from you, and your supplements are great. And let me tell you something. You gave me a fish oil supplement, and I noticed, my wife noticed, I'm just, you know, that it doesn't give me the fishy breath smell that I've had from some fish oils in the past. Oh. Well, that's great. Well, listen, Richard Pearl and Simply Natural is a great store. They're located in the city of Sunrise, open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Simply Natural is located just north of Sunset Strip on the east side of University Drive in Sunrise. The phone number, if you'd like to call after 11, that's when they open, 954-741-4045, 954-741-4045, and Richard Pearl's radio show, Pearls of Health, will be live on the radio at 11 a.m. this morning on all of our radio stations and iHeartRadio. All right, Richard Pearl, we're off tomorrow, but we'll be back on Friday. All right, take care. And, of course, Ed Pasquale is here. Let's take some calls. Ed, you're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's John in Sunny Isles. Good morning.
All right,
John.
Oh, well, it sounds like he's coming home to Mar-a-Lago. Oh, well, I hope he is. Now, let me ask you this. If Trump has a rally in town, would you go? Yeah? What about you, Ed? Would you go?
Absolutely.
I would not. Even though I'm going to Walt Disney World tomorrow. There's a big difference.
Well, you know the old story. Individual responsibility trumps
choice.
government mandates.
Well, listen. Well, I probably would. In all honesty, I've already been to 2 Trump rallies. I probably wouldn't go anyway because I have to get up in the morning. You know what I mean? Because and the last one I went to, when I went to the last Trump rally in Sunrise, listen to this call. This was amazing. I have a sister that I've never met before who's 20-something years old. That's how it tells you how well I know her. I don't even know how old she is, right? And I met her for the first time at the Trump rally. We were just coincidentally there, and I was on Twitter saying, I'm at the Trump rally, and I get this message on Twitter, and she says, hey, I'm your sister. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know about it. And we met for the first time, my 20-something sister.
Wow, that's interesting.
And she drove to the rally from another part of, from Fort Myers all the way here to Sunrise.
That's
it was
very
crazy.
serendipitous.
Isn't it crazy? It's nothing. But the reason I wouldn't, it was pretty cool. I didn't know her, and I knew of her, and we're both on the Trump train. It was amazing. Well, he does have one. He has a rally in New Hampshire on Saturday night. So I would think that he would not be having a rally in Florida so quick. But, a lot of what they're doing in Florida is, there's all the talk of the COVID, obsession, and the local news has gotten out of control. They're trying to get us to cancel the convention in Jacksonville. Jacksonville's barely Florida, by the way. I mean, I don't even consider that Florida. I think Florida begins at Palm Beach. But they're already canceling out their own convention, probably, right? So they're trying to get us to cancel our convention and stop Trump rallies. This is an effort to stop Trump rallies because they've got a candidate that can't even have a gathering in a breakout room at a public library, And that's a lot. The reason I wouldn't go to the Trump rally, by the way, is because we have so many people that want to prove that everything's safe. I think people go out of their way to breathe on people and things like this. I saw the Tulsa rally, and it was there's too much activism going on with the mask people,
Yeah, but
anti-maskers.
you have to take care of...
Thanks for calling, by the way.
Trump has to start getting his message out there, and this is the beginning of rolling out his campaign and framing the message. He's been relatively quiet over recent months, and the message has been controlled by the Democrats and Biden from the basement. So
it doesn't even seem like there's a presidential election going on, does it?
Well, he's been sidestepped with kind of more important things at this point in time,
Well, I went by Mar-a-Lago the other day, and I was very surprised. It was Saturday around lunchtime. I saw so many cars driving by with Trump flags individually. It wasn't a parade. I mean, people are just driving by in Democrat Palm Beach County. I thought there were a lot of them. It's pretty significant.
But the question is, while you were up there, did you pass Epstein's house?
No. No. I may have. I don't know which house it was.
Brian, we were talking a little.
I went by Rush's house. Oh my goodness, Rush Limbaugh's house is bigger than this building that we're in.
We were talking before about how this, the entirety of this thing has been a top-down approach from the intellectual elites, the academics funded by the Soroses and many of the large, big, ultra-rich money people. I think the way to counter that is we can't go head-to-head on that level, but I think we need to do it from the bottom up. Appeal to the common folk. Appeal to the lost generation that's out there, the forgotten men and women. And I think there's 3 things we need to concentrate on to get that, which will strike a chord with every person out, with the common sense in the people. One is their pocketbook. They're tired of being hit with taxes over the head, with the government mandates and restrictions. They know what Trump has done in the past. They know what he can do going forward. He's the best person to bring us out of where we're at. 2, we need to appeal to the patriotism of what our country was founded upon. Take pride in our country and the founding principles that we had. And number 3 is, I think the common folk out there have a disdain for the political culture that's out there, the corruption that's going on, the shifting of monies for political purposes. I think you're going to have an election this year that will be reminiscent of McGovern.
Well,
when he ran.
I think that people look at Trump, and he's the first president that they feel is looking out for them. And not because he's already made his money. You know, these other politicians are all rich, but they've all made their money through political corruption, and he's made his billions the old-fashioned way, and he's too rich to be bought. He's like an untouchable.
He is, but the rest of the politicians, along with the bureaucratic state, you know, they're entrenched and they want to keep their positions.
Yeah.
The entirety of everything they've done was just about maintaining their power, maintaining their status, and a shift back and forth between high-ranking government officials and top CEOs at major defense corporations and educational institutions.
I'm hoping that Epstein's madam starts spilling her guts. I mean, she's, you know, she's rumored to be Bill Clinton's mistress. She was at Chelsea's wedding, and not only was she at Chelsea's wedding, she had a great seat on the aisle at Chelsea's wedding. I mean, she wasn't just an afterthought. She had a very good seat, and she knows a lot. And you know, since Epstein's dead, she could say whatever she wants to.
That's assuming she makes it to trial.
They say she's under suicide watch by the same people that were watching Epstein.
Can you imagine if she mysteriously disappears?
You know, the thing would not be surprised. You know, the thing with Epstein, I remember when the trial was going on of him in Palm Beach. It was a big story locally, and I really never followed it. You know, it was in the front page of the paper every day here locally. Little did we know. But who was that Ponzi schemer in Broward? Rothstein?
Rothstein, yeah.
When Rothstein was busted, everyone that Steve and I know, pretty much, and I'm sure this is true with you, had some connection to this guy, except us, you know, and it seemed like every other person, even the great Al Lamberti. And I remember Steve and I were at a friend of ours' office, and he's like, "You see this desk? It's Scott Rothstein's desk." And you know, when there's I couldn't believe he had Rothstein's office furniture was his office. When someone is that rich and they're around, they buy their way into everything.
It's
you know,
so
and
much
that's
different than Bernie Madoff, though.
Yeah,
and the circle of
exactly.
People that he gathered around him. You know, people
Yeah.
want to be associated with people who they think are successful, and just because they have money, they think that gives them principles and gives them class.
And you can buy your way into
either.
anything. You can buy your way. Now, Steve and I are not social people, so I don't. Every once in a while, if there's somebody I really, really want to meet, I'll say, "Hey, can you get me in? Can I go? Can I meet that person? Can I talk to them?" But I'm not, you know. But someone like Ross, it's the same thing with Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein is with all these famous politicians because he bought his way in. You know, like, you know, that's what they do. All right, listen, we'll take our last break of the day. When we get back, we'll have the Gold Report, and then we'll finish up. Ed Pasquale is here. I'm Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest-running radio show, the Steve Kane Show on the radio since 1977. I want to tell each and every one of you out there, though, any lab test now of Boca and any lab test now of Coral Springs are offering on-the-spot coronavirus testing. Steve and I went with his son last week and had the test. You're in and out in 15 minutes, and you have your result, right? And ours was, of course, it was negative. So you have nothing to worry about, Ed, and I've been tested 3 times. And it's a simple test. It's a little finger test. You get the results in 15 minutes. These testing facilities around town where people are waiting in line for hours, they stick the thing up your nose, back to your eyeball. My mother-in-law went to one of these a while back. She said it hurt like hell. And how could it not, right? So it's painless and it's quick, 15 minutes. Any lab test now of Coral Springs, located on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood by the Coral Square Mall. Their number 954-906-5983. Any lab test now of Boca. They're in the Sandalfoot Plaza where the Western Beef is, south of Palmetto Park Road, north of Hillsborough. Their number 561-237-5009. And by the way, the test, $69. It's a great deal. If you're an employer and you need to get your workers tested, call them, okay? They're both listed at SteveKaneShow.com. Lots of any lab test nows. These are the only 2 advertising on the Steve Kane Show. Any lab test now of Coral Springs and any lab test now of Boca. We'll be right back.
We are chatting today with Frank, the owner of two magnificent Ace Hardware stores. One, Deerfield Beach, 365 South Federal Highway, about a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough on the west side
Hey there.
of Federal
Oh, just a
Highway.
reminder, we're off
The
tomorrow,
other,
but we'll be back on Friday.
Ace Hardware, located at
Okay, great, hold on.
232 Commercial Boulevard, half a block west of A1.
If Steve gets a week, I get a day
Lauderdale
vacation.
by the sea. Well, one of the things I noticed when I first walked into Ace Hardware is that you carry such
I think there's been no
wide
difference
variety of
whether a
big
lockdown
brands,
or not
all on one
lockdowns,
roof, which
either
is
in terms of
astounding.
countries or states.
I don't know, 40% of the deaths are in nursing homes. They're locked down. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah. I had a friend that was my closest friend, Benny. He didn't die from that, but the lockdown took away his spirit.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, he had other issues with pneumonia and Parkinson's, but
can show you how to use these products.
There are lots of Ace Hardware stores, but there are only two that are
were
advertising.
you aware
with the
that,
Steve
you know, I've got a
Kane
cousin
Show?
that was number 37 on Clinton's hit list?
You told me that before, yeah. He dodged that one.
He was a reporter down in Washington.
Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, a half block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the sea.
I'd like to see if
Very,
Seth
very
Rich comes
special
about at some
locations.
point.
Be sure to mention Steve Kane sent you. Listen to this.
Kane Gold Report.
I think we're putting all our hope on Durham. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. All right, now it's time to check in with William Youngerman with the Morning Gold Report. William Youngerman, good morning. Doing well. How the metals looking today? Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. You know, William Youngerman, can you tell people, because sometimes people ask me this, and I do tell them, but you can probably tell them better than I know you can. What is the benefit of coming to you, to your store, or calling your store and purchasing the metals, as opposed to these ads I see on television all the time with actors like William Devane? What's the benefit of coming to you as opposed to those places? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And those TV places, the premiums can be a premium, if you know what I mean. They can get up there, and you're paying way too much too. Listen, also, that's right. William Devane's not doing this for free, okay? To visit the battleship, okay? And also, if you have something made of the metals that you would like to turn into cash, or maybe turn into coins so you can monitor the value, go into William Youngerman. I've seen people come in for appraisals with, incredible items, and the knowledge of William Youngerman and his staff over there on appraisals is amazing. So listen, William Youngerman's number, if you have any questions, 1-800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010, online, williamyoungerman.com. Their address, 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca, in the Bank of America building, just immediately east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. William Youngerman, again, we're off tomorrow, but we'll be back live with you on Thursday, all right? All right, take care. Did I say Thursday? I'm getting like Biden. I'm losing my days. All right, Ed Pasquale is here. Steve said you had crazy ideas. I've heard nothing crazy yet.
Nothing crazy. Well, maybe
I'm going to get a call from
Steve's
Steve.
the one that's crazy.
Steve called me after the show. Why are you telling Ed? I said he was crazy, but that's...
I just want to repeat something I know you've said before and you've articulated it, but I'd like to remind people, if you can, set your DVR to record Tucker every day, because his opening statements for the last month have been on fire, and he's articulated the...
well, he's under fire right now, and I was talking about this at the start of the show at 6, and I'll bring it up to you. This Senator Duckworth in Illinois, liberal Democrat, she's been saying crazy things about the monument. She's been taking issue with a combat veteran of the United States, General Washington, who, by the way, is he's a 6-star general, Washington. Back in the 70s, they made him a 6-star general, so no one could ever outrank him. He's under fire because he called her a coward for not coming on his show. And, of course, she's a double amputee. Her copter got shot down in Iraq. They're really going after Tucker.
But like everything
It's
else,
going to be rough.
Brian, when words are mentioned, it needs to be put in context. And obviously the coward wasn't mentioned to whatever service she had for our country, but the coward was mentioned into the words she's uttering, and she needs to support her own ideas and come forth to justify
Well,
what
Audie
she
Murphy
says.
had an alcohol problem, and because he was the highest decorated soldier in the Second World War doesn't mean we can't talk to him and criticize him for being an alcoholic. I mean, I did not I've known of her for a little while. I did not know she was an amputee.
Neither did I.
And she's on television, and you only see her from the shoulders up. And now because Tucker called her a coward, now every shot is of her in her prosthetics or in a wheelchair now on television.
But again, it's no different than race. Any kind of physical deformity that you may have, that doesn't intellectually change. I mean, look at Charles Krauthammer. He sat there. He was paralyzed.
And most people didn't know because he was always sitting down.
But he didn't bring that forth and didn't use that as a crutch. It was his intellectuality that brought him forth. No different than Stephen Hawking, a great scientist. He was incapacitated, but it's the mind that transcends. You don't get any kind of false justification because of the color of your skin or where you came from or any of these
I think it's fair game.
physical attributes.
She's out there in the political world, and I think everyone... See, the thing is with Tucker Carlson, now that it came out that he has the highest rated cable show in the history of cable news, and again, that in the history goes back to the heyday of Larry King when CNN was the only one and there was no competition. He has higher ratings than even in those days, which I don't even know how is possible today when there's so much out there. They're trying to bring him down because he's effective and he's liked and he's right, and they're going to use this coward thing referencing her to try to bring him down. I promise you right now there's private investigators investigating his entire life.
They have been, but it's no different than any other business. When you're on top, there are people out just want to bring you down. We live in an age of envy, and any kind of success needs to be undermined.
Oh, Hannity won't be shedding a tear if they bring Tucker down. He'll be privately celebrating.
He got marginalized in that sandwich between Laura Ingraham and Tucker lately.
What do you why do you think he looks vanilla now, doesn't he? He's boring.
Well, you know why? Because he has gone for martial arts for 7 years now.
Steve Kane show.
And he's got people that are in law enforcement, and we've got to stop with that repetition of that same story.
I'd like to see him use it against someone that's not the expensive Manhattan karate master. I'd like to see him have to you know what I mean? Go up against the Black Lives Matter Antifa instructor and see how well he does on the mat.
Last year he had his niche, And that was going after, when they had Greg Jarrett on and, Sarah Carter and Solomon, with going after the background of the Pfizer abuses and everything that went on in government. And he had that all pretty together for quite a while and exposing that. That's kind of been sidetracked.
He's gotten boring. The celebrity's
it's
gotten
off the news right now.
Hannity's celebrity has gotten the best of him. That's what it is, I think. But Tucker Carlson, remember when Antifa went to his house when his wife was home alone? I mean, he's there. Tucker Carlson, as we speak right now, is about to go through some of the most difficult times of his life because he has the jealousies of people in the industry at his own network like Hannity. And I don't think Laura's jealous. I think Laura's in semi-retirement. She left the radio. She's got kids. And he's also got Brian Stelter at CNN after him, Tucker, and all the forces of the left and all of that. He's in for a rough time.
Yes, but what Tucker does have is reality is on his side. Reality counts for something. And he's not afraid to take on the criticism and articulate.
I love him.
Slice and dice.
He's great.
The people that come at him. And he's done it very well.
We'll take one quick call. We're almost out of time, caller, so be quick. Last call of the day. You're on the radio. First off, I changed my cell phone number because you got my old number. Somehow you got I had the same cell phone number for many years, and the last 4 digits of my number were 1922. It was a great number. Everybody could remember it. I changed my number because of this guy, and he got my new cell phone. And I remember Barry Siegel said, "Brian, you changed your cell phone number? That's pretty hardcore." And I said, "Liberal Al had my number." And he says, "Oh." And he got my new number, and now he's telling me he's going to give my new cell number to people. No, you are not authorized to give my private cell phone number to anyone, Al. And I hope I don't have to change it again. It's such everybody just finally got my number. It took me a year to give everybody my. Well, Ed, we're all out of time, but thanks for Steve's cookies. Since Steve's not here, I get the cookies.
Can I just leave you one
These
quick
Italian, I'm assuming.
That I saw.
Real quick.
There was a bunch of Italians protecting one of the Columbus statues that are around.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a Black Lives Matter person coming up, and they all gathered around him. And the punk just started crying, "Where are the police?"
Yeah.
And the Italians just kind of came along and said, "Oh, now you want the police."
See, Ed's Italian. He can say that.
Hey, forget about it,
Columbus, Ohio is my hometown, and they took the damn statue down. Can you believe it? All right, listen, it's 9 o'clock. We'll see you guys Friday. I'll be at Walt Disney World tomorrow in a mask because it's the law up there. And we'll be back live 6 a.m. Friday. Take care. Thanks for listening.
Stay strong. Thank you, Brian.
All right, no, thanks. Appreciate it.
I hope.
All right, guys. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, all right?
When's your podcast?
It's